Chapter 932. Zhuge wanted to laugh but didn't dare to. He took a few big steps forward and bowed respectfully. He said, "Since Elder has said so, we'll naturally obey. I sincerely hope that you can come to the Zhuge clan to give us some pointers when you are free. The entire Zhuge clan will definitely be grateful to you." The white-robed man nodded lightly. "Oh." Zhuge pretended to be hesitant and said, "Elder, please bestow us with your name. We're after all juniors. We'll be able to answer to our clans when we return. Senior, please be magnanimous and forgive this junior's rudeness." Zhuge's every word and action displayed the classic elegance and respect of a textbook example. His voice was gentle and his words were reasonable. Every word he said seemed to be sincere from the bottom of his heart. The white-robed man nodded. "You can go. I can't tell you my name." Zhuge was startled and said, "Yes." He bowed again and said, "Since that's the case, we'll be waiting for Elder to come to the Zhuge clan anytime. We'll definitely open our doors and welcome you." The white-robed man said lightly, "Go." Zhuge said, "Yes." He didn't hesitate anymore. He bowed and walked backward for 8 steps. Then he straightened his back, turned around and waved his hand. "Let's go." Everyone immediately left in a single file. They didn't even look back. They acted as if they didn't see Wei Wuyan, who was getting closer and closer. Everyone knew clearly that the white-robed man flattened the mountain to save this person. Who dared to say a word? After walking for 1,000 feet, Zhuge looked up to the sky and roared. The few people who were hiding behind the mountain came over like shooting stars. They said a few words and left together. Chuyang faintly heard someone say, "They're leaving just like that?" Then he didn't say anything. He must have been glared at by Zhuge. Yi Shiyu walked valiantly for 1,000 feet. When he turned around the foot of the mountain, his waist finally went limp and he started to twist his butt again. As he twisted his butt, he broke out in cold sweat. But he didn't dare to complain. He knew that although he had walked far away, the white-robed man would definitely be able to hear him if he spoke now. Zhuge then smiled. "Brother Yi, how does it feel?" Yi Shiyu turned his head away. I ignored him angrily. "This guy is digging a hole for me to jump into again." Zhuge laughed out loud. After a long while, he said with some lingering fear, "We were lucky enough to be able to escape alive after encountering such an expert." He looked back and said with a strange expression, "But why does this voice sound so familiar? I haven't seen Lan Ruoyun and the others yet. I don't know where they went even though such a big commotion happened." Suddenly he sucked in a breath of cold air and stamped his feet. "So that's how it is." "I see." Yi Shiyu asked curiously, "What are you up to again?" Zhuge sucked in a cold breath, his face pale. "I finally remember why this voice is so familiar. So it's her. Sai, looks like Lan Ruoyun and the others are all dead now." "What do you mean?" Yi Shiyu asked curiously. "Do you still remember? I heard Lan Ruoyun flirting with a girl when I used Heaven and Earth God to listen?" Zhuge Shen was puzzled. "Yes, you're saying?" Yi Shiyu suddenly thought of something and opened his mouth wide in shock. "You guessed it too?" "Yes, the girl he was flirting with is the one who was talking to us just now. Her voice is the same." Zhuge smiled bitterly. "Damn." Yi Shiyu couldn't help but say, "She's the one Lan Ruoyun wanted to fight with on the bed, on the water, on the tree?" Zhuge rolled his eyes. "That's her. Lan Ruoyun really has good eyesight. He found such a person to flirt with and even wanted to fight with her. Damn." This time, more than 30 people scolded together in shock. "That Lan Ruoyun is really daring." After scolding, everyone then came back to their senses and looked at each other. Lan Ruoyun was dead. That old monster was definitely going to be angry. As for Lan Ruoyun's death, he died when he was in a team with them. This matter? Let's go home quickly. Report this matter to the clan. Yi Shiyu said decisively. "Okay." Zhuge's face was solemn. The two of them looked at each other and saw each other's solemn face. They couldn't help but be mentally prepared for the upcoming storm. Zi Sheqing grabbed Hong Wuliang and stood there. Wei Wuyan walked in step by step with difficulty. Chu Yang hurriedly appeared with Chu Lu. "Brother Wei, are you okay?" Wei Wuyan looked at him with lifeless eyes and smiled bitterly. "What can happen to me?" Zi Sheqing said lightly, "Wei Wuyan, it's my fault for criticizing your teacher in front of you that day. I was wrong then. I hope you don't blame me." Right was right, wrong was wrong. Even though what she said back then had been confirmed, and Hong Wuliang was indeed a despicable person, she still apologized to Wei Wuyan for what she said back then. Wei Wuyan smiled bitterly. "I don't think you're wrong at all now. I only hate myself for being stupid." He raised his head in a daze and was in a daze for a while. Then he lowered his head again and looked at Hong Wuliang on the ground. Miss Z, I want to talk to him for a while. Xiecheng lifted her leg and pointed at Hong Wuliang's body. Hong Wuliang's whole body trembled. Extreme pain and grief flashed in his eyes. Xiecheng sealed his dantian and meridians. You don't have to leave. Wei Wuyan said softly, I also need a witness. Xiecheng and Chu Yang agreed at the same time. Wei Wuyan turned to look at Hong Wuliang. His eyes were full of hatred, but his tears couldn't help but flow down. His whole body trembled violently. Teacher. Wei Wuyan's mouth trembled. What? Is it really just like that? Hong Wuliang looked at him with a complicated look. A hint of guilt flashed in his eyes. He shut his mouth and didn't say anything. Say something. Wei Wuyan roared in a low voice. Hong Wuliang didn't answer. Wei Wuyan sat down in front of him. He seemed to be saying something to Hong Wuliang, to himself and to heaven and earth. His expression was sad and his gaze was perplexed. I, Wei Wuyan, took my teacher as my teacher when I was young. At that time, my teacher was extremely powerful. I was just a small child. My teacher took a fancy to my aptitude and asked my family for permission to take me in as his disciple. From then on, he nurtured me with all his heart. I walked step by step under my teacher's guidance. From nothing, I became a martial artist, martial master, martial great, revered, martial king, martial emperor, martial monarch, martial saint. My teacher has always been very pleased with my hard work. Every time I made progress, my teacher would reward me. Every time I went out to gain experience, if I suffered a loss, my teacher would definitely stand up for me. Later on, my family members grew old one by one and left me one by one. Only my teacher was left by my side. At that time, my teacher was all I could rely on. He was all my hope. He was the most noble person in my heart. That year I was a martial emperor. Because I concentrated on martial arts, I didn't have any thoughts of having a family. My teacher was also very anxious. He often urged me, saying that he wanted to have a grand disciple. He even went around looking for matchmakers for me. But that year my teacher came back with serious injuries. It was the vicious purple crystal hand. I was originally persuaded by my teacher and wanted to find a woman to spend my days with. But when I saw my teacher in such a state, I had to take care of him. So I suppressed that thought. From then on, I roamed the martial world and took on missions with my life on the line. Until I met here. As Wei Wuyan said till here, he raised his face in disappointment and looked at the void with deep affection. But in the end, he didn't continue saying this part. He just swallowed his saliva. His breathing, which had already calmed down, gradually became like a broken bellows, whistling. Teacher, you're not saying anything. Does that mean you're admitting it? Is it because you can't refute it? Wei Wuyan asked in a low voice. He didn't wait for Hong Wuliang's reply and continued, Right ear was killed by you. My son, Xiaozhan, was also killed by you. Your kindness to me is as heavy as a mountain, but your hatred towards me is as deep as the sea. Wei Wuyan let out a long sigh. There's indeed a reason why I'm called Wei Wuyan. It's because I already have no face. I have no face to face my wife, because she was killed by you. I have no face to face my child, because he died because of me. I have no face to face my ancestors, because I already have no descendants. I have no face to face the heavens, because I acknowledged a thief as my father. I also have no face to face you, teacher, because I will definitely kill you. I'll end you in my hands. I, Wei Wuyan, have let down my wife. I'm heartless. I've let down my children. I'm unkind. I've let down my parents. I'm unfilial. I've let down my teacher. I'm unrighteous. Indeed, I have no face. Wei Wuyan stood up and asked Chu Yang, Do you have water? Let me wash my face. He took the water from Chu Yang's water bag and washed his face carefully. He tidied up his hair and asked again, Do you have clothes? I'll change them. Chu Yang was silent for a long time. Finally, he took out a set of clothes. He didn't know what Wei Wuyan wanted to do, but he felt that Wei Wuyan was already dead at this moment. His heart was dead. Wei Wuyan took the clothes and put them on. He looked himself up and down and nodded. Then he helped Hong Wuliang to sit up and let him lean against a rock. Then Wei Wuyan took 3 steps back, tidied up his clothes and turned to face Hong Wuliang. He knelt down in a very pious manner and kowtowed solemnly. Teacher, I'll call you teacher for the last time. After this kowtow will cut off all ties. You've helped me and destroyed me. But you shouldn't have killed my wife and child. You've done me a great favor. I don't want to do anything to you today. And I'm not willing to do it. I'm going to pay respects to my wife and child first and tell them about this matter. From today onwards Wei Wuyan and you Hong Wuliang are absolutely irreconcilable. Wei Wuyan stood up. His eyes were cold and cold. Hong Wuliang, you old thief. The next time I see you I'll take your life with my own hands. I'll take revenge for my wife and child. After saying this he turned around resolutely and strode away. He didn't look back. Chapter 933. Hong Wuliang sat there and watched Wei Wuyan leave without looking back. He opened his mouth and wanted to say something but nothing came out. Chu Yang and Zi Shiqing stood at one side and watched everything quietly. Chu Yang was deep in thought. He looked at the direction where Wei Wuyan left with a complicated look in his eyes. He was asking himself, if he was in Wei Wuyan's position, would he kill him today? After thinking for a long time and weighing between killing and not killing, he finally decided, don't kill him. Don't kill him today. If he were to kill him today he would be ungrateful. If he were to kill him tomorrow he would be seeking justice. After all, humans had feelings. From good to bad there was also a process of acceptance. Today's matter was too sudden for Wei Wuyan. Zi Shiqing's face was full of murderous intent. Let him go, Chu Yang said lightly, don't kill him. Now Wei Wuyan only has one goal left in his life, which is to kill Hong Wuliang personally. If you kill Hong Wuliang now, Wei Wuyan won't be able to live on. Zi Shiqing gritted her teeth and said, this old dog is letting him off too easily. She said hatefully, why did Wei Wuyan let him off? He's simply a bastard. Chu Yang was silent for a long time and said, I understand Wei Wuyan's thoughts. Hong Wuliang has always been a great benefactor to him. Wei Wuyan didn't kill him now and let him live. This is equivalent to returning all that Hong Wuliang had given him. Only by killing him in the future can he take revenge with a clear conscience. Zi Shiqing sneered. The feelings of you humans are really incomprehensible. Chu Yang suddenly turned his head. You humans? Zi Shiqing's eyes flashed and she said lightly, I mean you humans. Chu Yang laughed. You humans? What you said is very strange. But he thought, you humans? You humans? Could it be that Zi Shiqing is actually not a human? Although I let him go, I can't just let him go like this. Chu Yang turned his head and looked at Hong Wuliang. Suddenly he strode towards him. Hong Wuliang asked in panic, what do you want to do? Chu Yang raised his hand and gave him a slap. It was a loud and heavy sound. You've never been slapped in the face before, have you? He gave him another slap with the back of his hand. You're worse than a dog or a pig. He stretched out his leg and kicked him to the ground. You only need to keep your life. Chu Yang ruthlessly kicked his crotch and coldly said, this kick is for your wife. That pitiful woman has been trapped by you for a lifetime. Hong Wuliang screamed miserably. His whole body twitched and his eyes turned white. His cultivation had been sealed, and he was like an ordinary person at this moment. Chu Yang's foot had crushed his crotch. Furthermore, it carried the power of the Calamity Sword. Even if a supreme being had the power to regenerate, there was nothing he could do. You're so vicious. Hong Wuliang screamed and glared at Chu Yang fiercely. Compared to you, I am ashamed. Chu Yang smiled coldly and lifted his leg. Take care of yourself. Don't die before Wei Wuyan finds you. Hong Wuliang's face was twisted and he looked at Chu Yang with hatred. If you look at me again, I'll dig out your eyeballs and stuff them into your *SS. Do you believe me? Chu Yang asked coldly. Hong Wuliang hurriedly closed his eyes. The extreme sense of humiliation made the muscles at the corners of his eyes tremble. Let him get lost. Chu Yang lifted his leg inside. How vexing. Get lost. Zi Shiqing ruthlessly kicked Hong Wuliang's body. At the same time that she released the restriction on his body, she also broke dozens of bones in his body. The corners of Chu Yang's mouth twitched. This woman is much more ferocious than me. Hong Wuliang flew out for hundreds of feet before he fell onto the mountain rocks. He climbed up with difficulty and endured the pain of broken bones all over his body. He looked back and staggered forward. Why did such a person accept Wei Wuyan as his younger brother and even nurture him with all his heart? Chu Yang looked at Hong Wuliang walking away and asked puzzledly. Zi Shiqing looked at him in surprise. You can't tell? Chu Yang was stunned. What? Zi Shiqing said lightly, you can't tell, but the guy in your body can definitely tell. Chu Yang rubbed his nose and smiled bitterly. Please enlighten me. Zi Shiqing said, there's a very small amount of Purple Flame's bloodline in Wei Wuyan's body. I was originally very surprised that I could tell even though there's so little Purple Flame's bloodline. Now I finally understand. It must have been taken away by Hong Wuliang. Purple Flame's bloodline? Chu Yang searched his mind and finally understood. It turns out that it's the kind of Purple Flame's bloodline that can complement with the icy cold energy to double the effect. Yes, this is also the reason why Wei Wuyan, as his only younger brother, didn't learn the icy cold energy that Hong Wuliang is best at, Zi Sheqing said lightly. What a bastard! Chu Yang scolded angrily. He couldn't wait to chase after Hong Wuliang and beat him up again. Purple Flame's bloodline was a special bloodline. It was the best cauldron for cultivating cold attribute martial arts. Every once in a while, some Purple Flame's bloodline could be extracted and integrated into one's meridians. This way, one would be able to cultivate cold attribute martial arts without any worries. And this was the reason why Hong Wuliang took Wei Wuyan in as his younger brother. Because the higher the cultivation of the Purple Flame's bloodline, the more Purple Flame's bloodline was released, and the better the effect. This was also the important reason why Hong Wuliang's cultivation improved so quickly in these hundreds of years. This was also the reason why Hong Wuliang took good care of Wei Wuyan and taught him wholeheartedly, allowing his cultivation to improve by leaps and bounds. Humans, can they really be so vicious? Jiang took a deep breath. In this case, Wei Wuyan's life was really tragic. From the beginning to the end, he lived in a dark environment and in a trap. First, he was used as a cauldron to cultivate evil martial arts, then he was used as a tool to collect purple crystals. Later on, his wife and son were killed by such a person, and the most tragic thing was, for more than 1,000 years, Wei Wuyan had been living in a trap for the other party. How sad was this? The two of them sighed in unison. Carrying Chu Lur on his back, Zi Sheqing led the way in front and the three of them followed the trail. The whole way was stained with blood. Wei Wuyan didn't stop the blood from flowing. Just like that, the bloody trail extended into the distance. After walking for dozens of miles, they turned a corner again. It extended all the way to a mountain before Wei Wuyan's figure could be seen. This tragic person was standing in front of a grave like a statue. The grave of his beloved wife, and Xiao Zhan. A tombstone stood alone and desolately. Wei Wuyan stood there for a long time. No one knew how long he had been standing there. He didn't say a word. His eyes were fixed on this tombstone with deep affection. She felt guilty and ashamed. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Wei Wuyan strode forward and hugged the tombstone in his arms, rubbing his face gently against it. Just like back then when he came back from a mission, he hugged his wife and son in his arms. Tears flowed down the tombstone. On the small tombstone, the weeds swayed with the wind and shook gently. It was as if he had returned home. The child struggled to pounce into his arms, but his wife hugged him gently and looked at him gently. I'm so silly. Wei Wuyan hugged the tombstone. He unbuttoned his clothes and stuck the tombstone on his bare chest. Although he was facing a cold tombstone, he was full of love. It was as if he was using his chest to warm his wife's cold body. I found my enemy. It's him. It's my master. It's Hong Wuliang. Wei Wuyan said painfully, Xiao Zhan, I'm so useless. I'm so pure. All of you died in his hands, but I still worked hard for him for more than 100 years. In these 100 years, all of you watched me work hard for him. Do you feel sad? Helpless? I don't have the face to meet all of you, but I miss all of you. Now I know that the best days of my life were those 3 years when I had you. I regret it so much, I hate it so much. I miss you so much. I miss all of you so much, I miss all of you so much. Wei Wuyan hugged the tombstone and suddenly burst into tears. Such a man was crying hoarsely and roaring silently. He hugged the cold tombstone, but it was as if he was hugging the only warmth he had in this world. The autumn wind blew. In an instant, reed flower-like things floated all over the mountains and plains. They danced in the air, swaying and drifting. It was as if his beloved wife was gently comforting her man underground. Wei Wuyan cried crazily, not caring about his image at all. He looked up to the sky and roared, Heavens! Why are you doing this to us? Why are you doing this to our whole family? The wind was mournful, as if he was crying and complaining. After a long time, Wei Wuyan finally stopped. He pressed his face against the tombstone and whispered softly, saying something. The sky gradually darkened. Wei Wuyan finally stood up. He pulled out the Wuyan sword and looked at the sword carefully. A bitter smile appeared on his face. Wuyan sword, I have no face to see all of you. I have no face to see all of you. He knelt down. Let me reunite with all of you. I beg you. The Wuyan sword suddenly shone. Quick, do it. Chu Yang shouted. Zi Sheqing raised her hand and slapped. A withered branch shot out like lightning and deflected Wei Wuyan's Wuyan sword. It scratched his shoulder, leaving a deep wound. Wei Wuyan turned his head calmly and shook his head lightly. It's useless. You can stop me today, but you can't stop me tomorrow. Chu Yang flew over and said angrily, Don't you want to take revenge? Wei Wuyan smiled bitterly. Revenge? I didn't kill him today, so I don't want to kill him anymore. After all, he's my teacher. His kindness to me was as heavy as a mountain and as deep as the sea. Kindness as heavy as a mountain and as deep as the sea. Chu Yang sneered. Do you know why he took you in as his disciple? What? Wei Wuyan frowned. Did he take a bowl of blood from you every once in a while? Zi Shiqing asked. Wei Wuyan said, Yes, that's to expel the cold. How did you know? Ah, you have the bloodline of the purple flames. He took you in as his disciple so that he could drink your blood continuously and treat you as a cauldron. Kindness as heavy as a mountain? Zi Shiqing said, He can't bear to let you die. Even if you're injured and bleed, he'll still be heartbroken. Chapter 934. Purple Flames Bloodline. Wei Wuyan had been in the martial world for so many years. How could he not know what the Purple Flames bloodline was? In an instant he only felt his blood rushing to his head. His blood surged and he saw stars. He spat out a mouthful of blood and groaned, I see, I see. He just sat on the ground and kept murmuring, So that's how it is. At first they were confused and puzzled. Then they were in pain and disbelief. Then they were suddenly enlightened. Then they were at a loss. Then they were disheartened. Slowly their voices became sonorous and filled with hatred. In the end their hatred was monstrous. In this short moment, Wei Wuyan had gone through a lifetime. All his puzzles had been answered at this moment. I see. Wei Wuyan said quietly and fiercely. After saying this he suddenly felt a burst of sadness. A burst of heartache. He repeated word by word, So. Like. That. Oh. Tears rolled down his cheeks as he spoke. It's all fake. All the love, all the nurturing, all the love, everything, is all fake. I used to think that although my home, parents and sister are gone, I still have relatives. Now I know that I'm wrong. I've been living in a conspiracy since I was young. I'm just a tool. I've grown up so that others can drink my blood. I see. No wonder he killed my wife and child so easily. I see. Wei Wuyan sat quietly. He chuckled and shook his head gently. As he shook his head, his tears slowly fell to the sides. Then he stood up. His face was very calm and his eyes didn't even have the slightest fluctuation. He let out a long sigh. He said quietly, Since I have no face, what's the use of having a face? Suddenly he stretched out his hand, grabbed his face and tore it off. His face was instantly badly mutilated. Jianghu took a step forward. He wanted to say something but he didn't. Since he tore off his face, it meant that he didn't want to die anymore. He regained the desire to live on. He tore off his original face so that he could have a better future. Such a past was unbearable for anyone. Jianghu understood Wei Wuyan's feelings very well. Jianghu, thank you. Wei Wuyan took out the golden sore ointment from his bosom and carefully applied the ointment on his face. With the help of his internal energy, the wound on his face became a scar. Only then did he speak to Jianghu. I'm not thanking you for saving my life. I'm thanking you for helping me understand things. I cannot die. Wei Wuyan turned around and stroked the tombstone with his fingers. His eyes revealed infinite gentleness. My wife and children are still waiting for me. They are waiting for me to avenge them, to seek justice for them. Jianghu said deeply, That's right. If you die, they won't be able to see their own justice. Moreover, they won't have any attachment to this world. Brother Wei, you should experience more. Your son hasn't experienced everything in this world. You should experience more and do more things. When you finally reunite with them one day, you can tell your son about your experiences. These are all things that he doesn't know. Wei Wuyan smiled bitterly, but there was hope in his eyes. He asked, Is there really such a thing in that world? Jianghu said in a low voice, As long as you believe it exists, then it exists. If you don't believe in the existence of that world, then it doesn't exist. I believe it. Wei Wuyan said seriously, I believe it. His eyes were gentle and loving, as if he was looking forward to telling stories to his son in the future. The little life that hadn't had the time to see more of this mortal world, the mountain wind blew and whistled across the mountain peak. The sky gradually darkened. The boundless forest was dark and gloomy, emitting ghost-like cries and wolf-like howls. Jianghu, I can't go with you anymore. Wei Wuyan looked at Jianghu apologetically. When the flowers bloom next spring, I'll go to the Zhuge clan's territory in the south to look for you. I'll accompany you to the medicine banquet and watch you soar into the sky. Chu Yang nodded understandingly. Okay. I'll definitely repay what I owe you, Wei Wuyan said. Brother Wei, please remember one thing, Chu Yang said seriously. Wei Wuyan said, what? Chu Yang said word by word, if you treat me as a friend then you don't owe me. But if you treat me as a benefactor then you owe me. Wei Wuyan's eyes finally revealed a trace of warmth, like a glimmer of light that was rekindled from the ashes. He stretched out his hands and held Chu Yang's shoulders tightly. He said deeply, yes. Yes. I don't owe you. I don't owe you. He suddenly found a spiritual support. It turned out that in this world he didn't have nothing after all. At the very least he still had a friend. Chu Yang smiled slightly. I'll stay here to accompany them. The wind is strong here, the mountain is high and the night is dark. They will be scared. Back then, in order to take care of Hong Wuliang, I buried them here nearby. I have let them down a lot. Wei Wuyan said softly. Chu Yang was silent for a long time. Then he said, then when you go down the mountain, bring them to the Wei clan's ancestral grave. Your Wei clan should have an ancestral grave, right? Wei Wuyan's eyes lit up and he said, yes, they won't be lonely there. My parents are there. Speaking till here he was in a daze. Chu Yang and Zi Sheqing had already walked far away. Looking back, they could only see a lonely figure standing in front of the tombstone in the twilight. After a long time, Wei Wuyan sat down again. He stretched out his arms and hugged the tombstone, hugging the lonely grave. Night fell on the earth and the last light in the world was also hidden. Wei Wuyan and the lonely grave were both melted in the darkness. The three of them walked in silence along the way. Until they walked out of the black blood forest, the three of them almost didn't speak. Only when they walked out of the forest at dawn and saw wisps of smoke rising in the distance did Zi Sheqing let out a long breath and said, Chu Yang, I only realized today that you're actually a good person. Chu Yang said, why do you say this? Zi Sheqing smiled lightly. Because you gave Wei Wuyan something to worry about. I was very touched at that time. She sighed. Although Wei Wuyan was temporarily persuaded to come back by us, his only goal left is revenge. Because he has nothing to worry about in this world. Just like what you said, when Hong Wuliang died, Wei Wuyan would definitely commit suicide. Because to him, this world of mortals has no meaning or joy at all. But at this time, you made use of his character of never owing anyone and gave him a brother. A friend. Zi Sheqing said lightly, when a person is in despair and suddenly sees a little light, he will grasp it tightly. His whole soul will also be drawn closer to this light. So, not only is Wei Wuyan lucky, you're also lucky. He has a goal and support to live on, and you also have a real friend. Chu Yang said lightly, I just don't want him to die. I don't want to be his support. Instead, I want to wait for him to walk out of this past and lead a good life. Zi Sheqing thought for a while. It's difficult. Chu Yang nodded. Yes, it's difficult. The two of them thought of the lonely figure in front of the lonely grave at the same time. Wei Wuyan was so infatuated with his late wife. If he wanted to lead a new life, it would be very difficult. Don't destroy this relationship, Zi Sheqing said. Actually, it's quite good for him to be like this. The living and the dead both have peace. Although this relationship is sad, it's very beautiful. Chu Yang said, you've finally admitted to the relationship in this world? Zi Sheqing laughed but didn't say anything. After a while she asked, where are we going? Directly south. Chu Yang pointed. If we walk a little further, less than 3,000 miles, we should reach the territory of the Zhuge clan. We'll go directly south first. There's the medicine banquet there. I'll use this opportunity to replenish my energy. At the same time, I'll find the last medicine for Lu'er to cure her illness. Chu Yang paused. Zi Sheqing nodded lightly. She knew that Chu Yang was talking about replenishing the energy of the tribulation sword. Next spring, after the medicine banquet, I'll go straight to the northwest. Chu Yang tilted his head and looked towards the northwest. His expression was extremely complicated. Northwest, Wind Thunder Platform. The fifth fragment of the tribulation sword. It was there that the final destination of his previous life was also the destination of his current life. Now that he thought about it, it was like a dream. Mo Chinji, as Chu Yang thought about it, a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. And this time Diwu Qingru was there in the south. Big brother, your smile is so vicissitude. Chu Lu'er tilted her head and looked at him. Vicissitude? Chu Yang said with interest, don't you think that I'm very manly just now? Chu Lu'er nodded seriously. Yes. I have the charm of an old man. Old man? Chu Yang was stunned. Yes, seeing you like that makes me want to listen to your stories. Chu Lure's eyes sparkled as she said. Chu Yang broke down. Zi Shiqing laughed out loud. Along the way the autumn wind was already refreshing. The trees along the way were golden yellow. Often, when a gust of wind blew, the whole world would be filled with falling leaves. This kind of scenery made Chu Lure, who had never been on a long journey, dance with joy. Zi Shiqing and Chu Yang practiced along the way. After walking for more than 1,000 miles, Chu Yang's realm had already slowly increased to the level of Sword Emperor. Of course, as the two of them walked, the places behind them were almost filled with crying. Wherever people gathered, there would always be a gap between the rich and the poor, and there would always be big and small forces. And there would always be a few lustful people from rich families, big forces and small clans. And how could these people hold back after seeing such a stunning beauty like Zi Shiqing? They would come up to flirt in a daze. If they failed to flirt, they would naturally resort to violence. Therefore, Chu Yang, the flower's protector, was the first to bear the brunt. Chu Yang realized that it was completely impossible to reason with these people. No matter what he said, they just wanted to keep the beauty. They even used sneak attacks and traps to frame her. There was even a guy who mobilized his entire clan to snatch the beauty for his son. The king of Helchu was furious. Chapter 935. When the king of hell was angry, millions of corpses would fall. King of Hell Chu single-handedly killed his way into the territory of this clan that dared to slap flies on the tiger's head. Blood flowed like a river. How could such a marginal clan be a match for a Sword Emperor? While screaming, they were killed by King of Hell Chu 7 times. King of Hell Chu was furious. You guys are still here to snatch beauties? If you guys can really do it, then go ahead. That way I'll feel bad for you guys. But you guys don't have eyes. It's not as simple as slapping flies on the tiger's head. You guys are here to snatch a tigress. King of Hell Chu scolded as he beat them. This sentence offended them. So, after young Master Chu finished killing, he walked to a secluded place and was beaten up severely. King of Hell Chu was even angrier. It's all your fault. Therefore, in the end, he didn't waste any more words. If one came, he would kill one. If two came, he would kill a pair. You guys aren't afraid of death, but do you think I'm afraid of killing people? So, the group of playboys became ghosts under Chu Yang's sword one by one. Wherever King of Hell Chu passed by, the families with playboys wailed. The sound of Swona resounded through half the sky. King of Hell Chu was dressed in black. He leisurely entered the territory of the Zhuge clan in a carefree and unrestrained manner. So, it seemed to be a landmark. When he entered the territory of Zhuge clan, there were blood-red maples along the way for hundreds of miles. Red like blood, stretching for hundreds of miles. Such a scene was simply spectacular and shocking. Just as he entered the territory of Zhuge clan, he found that the security here was exceptionally tight. Along the way there were actually checkpoints after checkpoints. They were only allowed to pass after confirming his identity. It seemed that Zhuge clan was going all out for security during the preparation and start of the medicine banquet. Chu Yang took out the identity token that Han Xiaoran had given him previously to confirm his identity as a doctor. Only then was he allowed to pass. And because of his special status as a doctor in the law enforcement hall, he was also given special treatment. There was a special person who led him all the way to the next checkpoint. Then he was escorted to the next checkpoint by someone from the next checkpoint. On one hand, this reflected Han Xiaoran's huge power. Even Zhuge clan gave him face. On the other hand, Zhuge clan escorted him all the way without any chaos. South Zhuge clan. Just by looking at this style, it was indeed extravagant to the extreme. Along the way, although Zi Shiqing had covered her face with a veil, her graceful figure, bright eyes and silky hair could not be hidden from anyone. One look and one could tell that she was a peerless beauty. Moreover, with such a tall and slender figure, even if her face was covered, one could still feel that she was a holy, noble, and unapproachable woman. Her entire body involuntarily exuded a frosty aura that kept people 1,000 miles away. This kind of feeling attracted countless burning gazes. However, seeing the Zhuge family's warriors attentively receiving them, the young masters naturally didn't dare to be impudent. However, the news spread very quickly. In just one morning, everyone in this small town that had just entered the south knew that a peerless beauty had arrived. This place belonged to the front line of the Zhuge family. The Zhuge clan only set up a branch here. It belonged to the northern branch. The real local tyrant here was the Zhuge clan's vassal clan, the Sun clan. As the warrior who received Chu Yang walked, he reminded him softly, Sir, this place is a little far from the Zhuge clan's headquarters. Sir, please be careful. We will only stay here for one night and set off immediately tomorrow. Don't stir up trouble. Otherwise, if law enforcement Master Han blames us, we won't be able to bear it. Chu Yang understood that on the surface he said that on the surface they wouldn't be able to bear it. In fact, he was reminding him to be careful. It was just that his words were more tactful. Looking at this martial revered warrior, Chu Yang smiled playfully and said, "Big brother, if there's anything inconvenient, can you explain it to us?" The warrior hesitated for a moment before replying, "All right." Then he sighed and said, "Sir, this woman is a little too eye-catching. So, I hope those two devils from the Sun clan don't come out." "Two devil incarnate?" Chu Yang laughed out loud. This warrior sighed softly and said, "Sir, as a doctor of the law enforcement hall, you have too few people around you." "Yes." Chu Yang saw that he was sincerely considerate and said, "What's your name?" "My surname is Tao." "Tao Rin is my name," this warrior said. "Tao Rin." Chu Yang snorted. Tao Rin smiled embarrassedly and said, "My name always makes people think too much. Sir, if you want to laugh, go ahead. I'm already used to it." When he said this, Chu Yang smiled embarrassedly and said, "Brother Tao, please don't blame me. I'm not easily amused." Tao Rin said cheerfully, "It's okay. Speaking of which, I've received so many people. Sir, you're the first person to apologize to me after laughing." Chu Yang smiled and said, "It's my duty. The name given by my parents isn't for others to laugh at." As he said, "When we reach the inn, I'll have a drink with Brother Tao." Tao Rin said, "I'm just about to report to you about what happened here." Not long after they reached the inn, Chu Yang arranged wine and dishes and drank with Tao Rin. At the same time he could inquire about the news. "Sir, you came earlier this time. If you came later, the doctors from all over the place would have arrived." With all kinds of people, the Sun clan wouldn't dare to be arrogant. But now, it's hard to predict, Tao Rin said. "Oh? In this place, the Zhuge clan can't protect their guests? Why don't the Sun clan have the final say?" Chu Yang asked in surprise. "No, because this place is more remote, the clan simply let the Sun clan manage this place and let them monopolize it. In this way it greatly reduces disputes. Although the Sun clan is usually a little overbearing without competition from other clans, it's much more stable than other places. But the Sun clan's younger brothers are becoming more and more domineering." Tao Rin smiled. "I see," Chu Yang said thoughtfully. "With one family monopolizing it, even if there were disturbances, they would be internal disturbances and could be easily extinguished. Moreover, even if there were one or two unfilial younger brothers, it wouldn't cause big trouble. This was a good idea. At least it was much better than the Shao clan's three clans controlling Flat Mountain Ridge. The Sun clan is Sir Diwu Qingyun's father-in-law's family. The two clans are also related by marriage." Tao Rin lowered his voice. "I see. No wonder the Sun clan is so arrogant. They have a backer." Chu Yang drank a cup of wine. "Diwu Qingyun's relative? Is there such a coincidence? I'm going to kill Diwu Qingrou's relative the moment I come? What's the relationship between this Diwu Qingyun and Diwu Qingrou?" Chu Yang asked. "Diwu Qingyun can't be compared to Sir Qingrou in any aspect. But the two of them are cousins. Diwu Qingyun is older than Sir Diwu Qingrou by more than 10 years, Tao Rin said. "Yes," Chu Yang nodded lightly. "If the Sun clan really comes, you only need to take out the law enforcement token and Doctor's jade pendant. The Sun clan wouldn't dare to do anything to you." Tao Rin said before he left. "It seems that you've come early, Chu Yang." Zi Shiqing turned her eyes and smiled. "If I'm late, I won't be able to catch up with the hot ones." Chu Yang frowned and said, "If you didn't follow me, I could have made a fortune secretly and swept all the medicinal herbs in the periphery. Now that you've followed me, my plan is ruined." "What good medicinal herbs are there in the periphery?" Zi Shiqing laughed and said, "The real good medicinal herbs are taken out by the big clans. Those are the real treasures." Chu Yang snorted. Looking at his hands, he said lightly, "You've followed me all the way here. I've killed at least 100 people. My hands are stained with blood." Zi Shiqing said lightly, "But the people along the way will feel you. The beautiful ladies won't have their most fearful worries. Isn't this the best thing?" Chu Yang frowned and said, I'm afraid I'll have to kill people again here." Zi Shiqing said, "You're worried about Diwu Qingrou?" Chu Yang sighed slightly and said, "No one can ignore someone like Diwu Qingrou." Zi Shiqing nodded and said, "If so, I'd like to see what kind of hero this Diwu Qingrou is. You kill these people and lure him here for me to see." Chu Yang rolled his eyes. If Diwu Qingru could be mobilized for such a small matter, he wouldn't be Diwu Qingru. Although he didn't know what Diwu Qingru's status was in the Zhuge clan, Chu Yang believed that with Diwu Qingru's ability, he would live well no matter where he was. Before he finished speaking, the sound of horse hooves could be heard coming from outside. It stopped abruptly in front of the inn's door. The group of people rolled off their saddles and immediately after, a light voice sounded, "Kanjong, how beautiful do you think this so-called peerless beauty is? Is she worthy of such praise from those guys?" Another voice laughed and said, "Since they say she's a peerless beauty, she must be good. Otherwise, this group of lechers wouldn't praise her so much." Everyone agreed with him. Yes, young master, she's too beautiful. My eyes were fixed on her. Yes, when I saw her, I couldn't walk. Too beautiful? Such a girl and so cold. She's really hot." Hearing the noise outside, Chu Yang frowned slightly. Looking at this girl was really a source of trouble. She had only been here for less than 2 hours and had already attracted a large group of playboys. "Haha, since she's so beautiful, Kanjong, this girl is mine," said the previous voice. "Sun Duanma, don't go too far. I've already given you the chance to have the red dwarf last time." Sun Kanjong said in exasperation, "This time, I won't give you the chance again. Finger-guessing game. 1 punch to decide the winner. 1, 2, 3, start." It seemed that these two brothers wanted to gamble for this matter. The men at the side couldn't help but shout in excitement. Then Sun Sanjiang's triumphant voice sounded, "Brothers, follow me in. Let this so-called ice beauty do a striptease for everyone." Wahahaha. There was a burst of strange laughter that sounded like the wailing of ghosts and the howling of wolves. The men swarmed in and asked loudly, "Beauty, where is the beauty? Come out quickly." Ah. Another man said evilly, "If the beauty hears us, she can just walk out naked." Ha. Zisheching was so angry that her face turned green. Chapter 936. Trouble had finally arrived. Zisheching was very depressed and angry. This was because she knew that Chu Yang's matter was very important. So she covered her face. This was the only time she covered her face along the way. She didn't want to cause any trouble. But trouble came looking for her. She was actually chased all the way to the inn with her face covered. This showed how desperate this bunch of playboys were in their pursuit of beauty. "Big brother, is it really a crime for a woman to be beautiful?" Chu Lur asked puzzledly. "Will there be so much trouble just because she's beautiful? In that case, are beautiful women destined to be unhappy in their lives?" Chu Yang heaved a deep sigh. He didn't know how to answer his sister's question. Beauty. This kind of situation was not common in the lower 3 heavens. Even if there was, it was rarely so blatant. In the upper 3 heavens, although the situation had worsened, it wasn't very chaotic. But in the upper 3 heavens, everyone was so unscrupulous. He had only walked 1,800 miles and he had already killed more than 100 of such people, including their followers. And this was in a place where there weren't many people. This showed how bad the moral situation in the upper 3 heavens had become. Beauty is not a crime, but it's also a crime. Chu Yang sighed. Born in a peaceful era, beauty is a fortune bestowed by the heavens. Born in a chaotic era, beauty is a punishment bestowed by the heavens. No matter how good a person's character is, he can't protect his beautiful wife in this heavens. That's why it's said that beautiful women are ill-fated. Actually, it's not that beautiful women are ill-fated, but playboys who deserve to die. After Chu Yang finished, he looked at the door. The 3 of them were staying in the heavenly room number 1 and room number 2. Generally, those who could stay here were people of status. The Zhuge clan had arranged for them to stay here, which was tantamount to saying, "These 3 people have a strong background, don't provoke them." Such an obvious hint, but these playboys didn't take it seriously at all. With a loud bang, the door was pushed open. A group of young men appeared at the door. They were all dressed in rich and dignified clothes, but their eyes were full of eagerness and lust as they looked at the room. The moment they saw Zisheching, they were all stunned. Zisheching was in the room and was not wearing a mask. She was barefaced at this moment, but her peerless beauty was fully displayed. Even though he was looking at them coldly at this moment, it still made these young men's hearts itch. Ice beauty, haha. I love climbing ice mountains the most. Sun Sanjiang's right cheek had a big mole and he was laughing weirdly at the moment. Looking at Zisheching, he almost drooled. The other person looked similar to Sun Kanjiang, but he had a big mole on the left side of his face. He must be the Grand Gonggong Sun Duanma. Beauty, what's your name? Ioyo. Don't glare at me. Once you glare at me, I, your lover, feel weak all over. Sun Kanzhong leaned against the door frame and acted like a rascal. The group of playboys behind him jeered, "Second young master, have you gone soft? If even the bottom part is soft, that would be bad. Let us enjoy the beauty." That's right, that's right. Second young master, quickly reach out and touch it. Can you still use it? Wah! After a burst of weird laughter, Sun Kanzhong actually reached out and touched it. He turned his head and laughed, "The other parts of my body are all soft, only this part is harder." Instantly the evil laughter shook the sky. Everyone looked at Chu Yang and the other two in the room as if they were looking at delicious food. It seemed that the people inside could not resist at all. Everything was in the bag and destined. "Second young master, why don't you let the beauty touch you?" A playboy laughed loudly. "Second brother, why don't I do it?" Sun Duanma was a little anxious. "I've never seen such a fairy-like beauty in my whole life. That won't do. She's mine, so she's mine. Even if you're my elder brother, I won't let you." Sun Kanzhong was very determined. Chu Yang coughed and said slowly, "People from the Sun clan? Ah, this gigolo can even talk." Sun Duanma chuckled and swaggered in. He clicked his tongue and said, "A big beauty and a little beauty? This time we're really lucky. Kanzhong, how about this? You want the big one and I want the little one?" Sun Kanzhong looked at Chu Lura with some reluctance and said painfully, "Okay." Black gas loomed between Chu Yang's eyebrows. His murderous intent could no longer be contained. He forcibly suppressed it and said, "Will the Sun clan allow you to do this? Don't the elders in your clan know that this is not good?" When he said this, Zi Sheqing immediately knew that Chu Yang already had the intention of exterminating the clan. And the answer of these two brothers would be the answer. It would determine the fate of their clan. "Clan? Stop us?" Sun Duanma laughed loudly. "It's not the first time we've done such things. Gigolo, do you think that if the clan had stopped us, we would be standing here today?" Sun Duanma laughed strangely. "Little one, do you think this world is so peaceful? You actually swaggered into our Sun clan's territory. You shouldn't have brought along a beauty? Ah, but it's good too. Good too. I'll take it that you've brought me a beauty. If you know what's good for you, I'll spare your life." Chu Yang smiled faintly. Yes, the Sun clan was confirmed. Seeing that the Sun brothers were about to make a move, Chu Yang shouted, "Wait! Wait!" Sun Kanzhong stopped and looked at Chu Yang. "Little one, your voice is not soft. How dare you be so loud? I just want to know how we got into such bad luck." Chu Yang put on a dejected look and said, "When we came here, we immediately checked into the inn and didn't meet you. But now you've come to find trouble with us directly. Could it be that you've seen it?" All the more he couldn't let go of the person who tipped them off. These people clearly knew that he couldn't afford to offend them, but they went to inform the young ruffians. Even if he didn't do it himself, he still wanted to defile them. What kind of mentality was this? Such people were even more abominable than the Sun brothers. Chu Yang didn't intend to let any of them off. To cut the weeds, he had to dig up the roots. Today the king of Hell Chu intended to really start a massacre. Sun Duanma laughed loudly. "We didn't see it, but they saw it, which is equivalent to us seeing it." As he said, he waved his hand arrogantly. "Did you see it? A few of them saw it. So that you can know that we have a big clan and 4 small clans here. They are like stars surrounding the moon. Do you know which big clan is that?" "Sun clan." Chu Yang frowned and asked. "Smart." Sun Kanzhong snapped his fingers. "And the few of them are Eunuch Li, Eunuch Zhao, Eunuch Chen and Eunuch Sheng. We brothers have always enjoyed blessings and will together. When they found the beauty, it was equivalent to me finding it immediately. Is that simple, understand? Ah. Do you think that I won't dare to touch you just because the warriors of the Zhuge clan brought you to stay in the inn and arranged for you to stay in the first room? What a joke." "I see." Chu Yang stood up and said righteously, "So it's the 5 big clans that connive with the young ruffians of each clan to do whatever they want and wreak havoc in the village. I have to remove such a malignant tumor." "Yeah. What an arrogant tone. You actually said I stand up?" Sun Duanma sneered and said, "So, you also have some background?" Sun Kanzhong laughed and said, "We didn't do anything when we came up because we were trying to find out the background of this little guy. After being interrogated by him for such a long time, it's time for us to find out more about him. Haha, I'd like to see which clan's young master is actually so awesome." Chu Yang's eyes were filled with murderous intent. He threw a token on the table and said lightly, "I'm the chief doctor of the Southeast Law Enforcement Officers. You dare to touch me?" He only took it out now because he was sure that these people were already in a difficult position. No matter who he was, they had to touch him. And if they touched him now, it would be equivalent to making an enemy out of the law enforcement officers. He had to put on a big hat first. After all, this was the territory of the Zhuge clan and he was alone. Not only did he have to stand on the right side of things, he also had to find a way out and a backer first. Otherwise, if the Zhuge clan made things difficult for him, although he wasn't afraid, it would also hinder his plan to participate in the medicine banquet. But something that Chu Yang didn't expect happened. Seeing an exquisite jade pendant on the table, Sun Duanma went forward and grabbed it. He looked closely at it and muttered, "Cold heaven and earth in the southeast, I'm Mo Shaoran, the law enforcement officer of the human world. I'm righteous and fearless, I can face the heavens with this heart." After he finished reciting, Sun Duanma actually swayed his neck and clicked his tongue. "Good poem. Good poem. This poem is really well written. When I recite it, I also feel a little passionate and heroic. I didn't expect you to have such talent." Even though Chu Yang was furious, he couldn't help but be stunned. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. In this world, as the son and daughter of an aristocratic clan, there was actually such a fool. There was only one such law enforcement jade pendant in the entire heavens. It was the symbol of the law enforcement master who was in charge of the general direction. The cultivation of this law enforcement master wasn't necessarily the highest, but his reputation was awe-inspiring, because he represented all the law enforcement officers in the world. As for the law enforcement officers' interrogation hall, secret hall, dragon hall, tiger hall, and so on, they all existed as a mobile force. Under normal circumstances, this law enforcement master would rule this heavens in an orderly manner. The identity cards of ordinary law enforcement officers were divided into iron, copper, silver, and gold. When the law enforcement officers reached a certain level, they would be divided into white, blue, black, and purple crystal identity cards. The purple crystal identity card was the most honorable. But in this world there was only one real identity card made of white jade. On it, there was the name of the law enforcement master, the location of the law enforcement, and so on. And this identity card was known by everyone in the world. Once it was taken out, it represented the arrival of Han Shaoran himself. What kind of status was this? Now, in the mouth of this Grand Duke's son, it actually became a passionate little poem and didn't represent anything else? Chapter 937. Chu Yang looked at Archduke Sun with a complicated expression. He thought to himself, if Brother Han were to face such a situation, would he vomit blood? This guy, even if he's not dozens of years old, he should be at least dozens of kilograms. Even if he doesn't have any knowledge, he should at least have some common sense, right? Such common sense that even ordinary people in the heavens could recite. This guy actually doesn't know. And no one would dare to imitate such an identity jade token. It was said that there was once an expert who acted like a tyrant. In just 2 days he was exposed and all law enforcement officers saw him as a public enemy. The Dharma Supreme personally gave an order, if any big clan dares to cover up for him, they will all be eliminated. Such an order could directly shake the heavens. As expected, the big clans didn't want to offend the Dharma Supreme over this matter. So within 3 days that person's head was chopped off, soaked in lime and preserved, and paraded around the heavens. Since then no one dared to do so. But this Archduke's son actually didn't recognize it. Even though King of Hell Chu had lived 2 lives, it was his first time seeing such a super idiot. It's just a poem? Chu Yang asked with a strange expression. Yes, Sun Duanma looked at him in astonishment and then realized, could it be an acrostic poem? As he said, he lowered his head to study it and said, acrostic poem? Zhangji here? Suddenly he flew into a rage. Little brother, are you kidding me? What does this Zhangji here mean? Sun Canzhong reminded him, big brother, maybe it's not an acrostic poem but an acrostic poem. Sun Duanma was suddenly enlightened. He hurriedly took a look and recited, cold, fearful of heaven? Cold, fearful of heaven? He raised his head to look at his brother and asked in confusion, what does it mean? Sun Canzhong scratched his head and thought hard. Suddenly he flew into a rage and said, who cares what it means? Let's do this first. Damn it, pretending to be mysterious. I thought it was some big shot. Wait, eldest young master. This matter can't be. Finally, there was someone who understood and said with trembling lips, this is the identity jade token of the Southeast Law Enforcement Officer Han Shaoran. Master Han? Sun Duanma frowned. Which Master Han? What Master Han? At this time the innkeeper was trembling with fear and wanted to mediate, but when he heard this, his face turned pale and he ran out. He untied a horse and galloped towards the Sun family's residence. My God, this is a disaster as big as the heavens. Eunuch Sun recited a poem on the identity jade plate of the law enforcement master of the southeast region. My God, how could this happen in my store? These two eunuchs have really caused a lot of trouble for me. I can only hope that I can deliver the news quickly so that I can still make it in time. The shopkeeper was also a smart person. He knew that if he went forward to mediate, not only would the two men who did not know who Master Han was not by it, they would also beat him up. The only ones who could stop them were the Sun family members. At this moment, Sun Duanma and his brother in the inn finally knew who Sir Han was. Looking at the pale faces of the other dukes, the two of them laughed out loud. Law enforcement officer, so it's the law enforcement officer? Look at you guys, don't you know? The thing that I'm least afraid of is the law enforcement officer. The local law enforcement hall's hall master, Zhou Yade, is my uncle. Sun Duanma said proudly, my biological uncle. The other dukes looked at him with pity and thought to themselves, your uncle? Even your biological father can't do it. This is the identity jade plate of the Southeast law enforcement master Han Xiaoran. What kind of person was Han Xiaoran? He was famous for being impartial. They looked at each other and had the intention to retreat. No wonder you're so awesome. It turns out that you have a law enforcement hall master as your backer. Chu Yang sneered and said, what a powerful official. Looking at the few cowering teenagers, Chu Yang's body flashed and blocked the door. He said mercilessly, since you're here, then stay here. Sun Duanma's eyes flashed fiercely. They're only 3 people. No one will know if we kill them. I know a lot about the rules of the law enforcement officers. Won't it be fine if we cover them from top to bottom? The foppish young masters were originally perturbed. Now that they saw that Chu Yang actually didn't care about them leaving, they immediately became excited. Go. Kill him. With a shout, 7 to 8 people rushed up at the same time. The guards who had been waiting outside attacked at the same time. Chu Yang sneered, you don't know what's good for you. His hands shook and sword aura shot out in all directions. With a clang, the power of the Sword Emperor was released. The swords of these people flew up into the air. Zi Sheqing watched quietly from inside and said, there's no need to comprehend any Tao state. Kill. Kill as quickly as possible. Chu Yang said lightly, kill to your heart's content. It's not satisfying to kill like this. The swords were like the wind, striking out like a storm. With a few claps, all kinds of swords flew out from the hands of these people and were inserted into the door frame in a neat row. The foppish young masters' faces turned pale. They shouted and turned to escape. How could Chu Yang let them escape? With a point of his sword, the few dukes and their attendants screamed and fell to the ground. Chu Yang shouted, waiter? The waiter of the inn came forward in fear and trepidation. With his teeth chattering he said, guest? Do you have any orders? Prepare a long rope, it must be sturdier. Prepare a few horses. Go quickly. If you don't find me in half an hour, I'll slaughter your entire inn. Chu Yang said fiercely. Chu Yang was also very angry about this inn. Just now, when a group of foppish young masters came to snatch people, no one in the inn, including the shopkeeper and the waiter, said a word. This was the inn that the Zhuge clan chose to welcome guests. How could they behave like this? At this moment, the king of Hell Chu almost had an impulse to burn this inn to the ground. But after thinking for a while, he finally suppressed this thought. Yes. The waiter was so scared that he wet his pants and ran out in a hurry. Today, I'll parade the streets for the Zhuge clan in the south. Chu Yang said lightly, while I'm at it, I'll start a massacre here. I'd like to see how many people there are for me to kill in this small place. Murderous aura surged out in an overwhelming manner. The few dukes' faces turned pale. Looking at this killing god, they were already regretting so much that their intestines turned green. They didn't expect that the person beside the beauty was actually such a ferocious person. Not only could they not afford to offend his background, they also couldn't afford to offend him personally. The Sun clan. In the living room, the clan master of the Sun clan, Sun Qingkai, was drinking tea with 2 people. These 2 people were the chief and deputy chief of the local law enforcement hall. The 2 of you have graced us with your presence. Please stay for a while longer. I'll do my part as a host. Later we won't rest until we're drunk. My cellar has a collection of fine wine. Sun Qingkai was a skinny man. At this moment he was laughing heartily and serving tea attentively. The huge Zhou Yade laughed and said with a serious expression, Brother Sun, brother-in-law, I'm naturally here to drink today. But I also have something to tell you. Seeing that he was serious, Sun Qingkai couldn't help but ask with interest, "What is it?" This year's medicine banquet is held once in 1,000 years in the heavens. It's hosted by the Zhuge clan and is extremely important. In the past, this place was close to the border of no man's land. You can do whatever you want. But now, it's become the gateway of the Zhuge clan. Brother Sun, you have to be careful. During this period of time, I haven't seen any movements from you. You must not be careless. Zhou Yade said. Sun Qingkai laughed and said, "It's okay. Although this place has become a gateway, it's just a passing route. Ordinary people wouldn't stay here at all and would just leave directly. I've already made careful arrangements. I don't think there'll be any problems." Zhou Yade nodded and said, "In the past I've done everything I could to help. After all, we're relatives and those things aren't considered a big deal. But during this period of time, as long as people come, we can't afford to offend them. You have to know this in your heart." Sun Qingkai nodded and said, "Of course I know this." Zhou Yade pondered and said, "There's another thing that I'm sure you've heard about. A person came from the southeast with a beautiful girl. Along the way he killed a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. The Shen clan, which is 1,000 miles away, isn't as powerful as your clan, but it's not too far off. Because the entire clan mobilized to snatch the beauty for their son, this lecherous killer directly killed his way into the clan. There were more than 300 people in the clan, and not a single one was spared." Sun Qingkai shuddered and said, "Yes, there's such a thing. Now, that person is coming this way. I reckon that he'll enter this place within 1 or 2 days." Zhou Yade looked at Sun Qingkai meaningfully. Sun Qingkai's face turned pale and he nodded repeatedly. I understand. I'll definitely discipline those 2 little bastards strictly to prevent them from causing trouble." "It's not as simple as trouble," Zhou Yade said indifferently. "I heard that although this person is young, his cultivation is close to that of a sword saint. Even if your Sun clan goes all out, you may not be his match. His female companion is an outstanding beauty. If my 2 nephews take a fancy to her." Sun Qingkai's hair stood on end and he said, "I'll make arrangements immediately. Just be careful in everything." Zhou Yade smiled slightly. At this moment, a servant suddenly came in hurriedly and reporting to the clan head, "The head shopkeeper of the Heavenly Fortune Inn is here. He said that he has something important to report to the clan head regarding the young master." "Heavenly Fortune Inn?" Zhou Yade frowned. "Isn't that the place where the pharmacists of the medicine banquet are staying?" Cold sweat appeared on Sun Qingkai's face and he hurriedly said, "Ask him to come in quickly." He muttered, "Could it be that those 2 little bastards have caused some trouble?" As he said that, the cold sweat on his face became the size of soybeans and dripped down profusely. "I'm afraid that the trouble this time isn't small." Zhou Yade frowned. As long as there are guests staying there, they would be the pharmacists of the big clans or law enforcement officers, and then there would be the pharmacists of the Medicine Valley. No matter which aspect it is, it's very difficult to provoke. Even some idle pharmacists would have experts guarding them. Chapter 938. Hearing Zhou Yade's words, Sun Qingkai became even more perturbed. He begged, "Brother Zhou, brother-in-law, if something happens this time and I can't hold on, you have to help me." Zhou Yade sighed. "As long as it's not a big matter, I think my law enforcement haul still has some weight. Everyone will more or less give me some face for the sake of the law enforcement officers. Don't worry." Sun Qingkai was slightly relieved. At this time, the fat shopkeeper of the Heavenly Fortune Inn finally rolled in like a rubber ball. He shouted with a face full of excitement, "Old Master Sun, it's really bad this time. If you dare to go there quickly, there might still be hope." Sun Qingkai shouted, "Shut up. Speak slowly. What big matter is it? Is it worth being so flustered? Howling like this in the hall of my Sun family, where is your decency?" The fat shopkeeper's fat face was full of sweat. The 2 sirs. The 2 sirs had a conflict with someone in the inn? A conflict? Hearing this, Sun Qingkai was actually relieved. If it was just a conflict, then it would be easy to handle. Just a conflict? What's the background of the other party? Sun Qingkai picked up the teacup and drank slowly. He was extremely calm. "Tell me the details of the matter." The fat shopkeeper was so anxious that he kept patting his butt. He said, "Today, a warrior from the Zhuge clan sent a guest to the inn. This guest was extremely young and handsome. He was dressed in black and looked very handsome. He also seemed to have a good temper. Get to the point." Sun Qingkai was even more relieved. "He seemed to have a good temper?" Those who were being bullied now were all good-tempered people. Looks like my son didn't suffer any losses. It's good that he didn't suffer any losses. This guest brought two women with him. One was an adult girl and the other was a little girl. The adult girl covered her face and looked very charming. I don't know how the two sirs knew. The fat shopkeeper stammered. He really wanted to slap his own mouth. He was usually quite talkative. Why was he stammering today? Brought a girl? Sun Qingkai was stunned. The teacup stopped at the edge of his mouth. I don't think so. Zhou Yade said, I heard that the girl next to the foppish guy didn't cover her face. Sun Qingcai's expression softened again as he blew on the tea. What happened next? Later the two lords, Lord Qian, Lord Zhao, Lord Li and Lord Jing rushed over. They took a fancy to that woman and wanted to make a move. The fat shopkeeper stammered. Well, what happened after that? Sun Qingcai said faintly, You didn't kill those people, did you? The fat shopkeeper looked at the master of the Sun family in surprise. Do you think I would come to report if your son had the upper hand? Do you think I'll report if it's not too much trouble? No. That customer took out an identity jade token, and there was a poem on it. The fat shopkeeper said. Identity jade tablet? A poem? What poem? At this point, Zhou Yade's heart skipped a beat. He couldn't hold himself back and asked first. He prayed in his heart, Jade pendant? Poetry? God, please don't let it be that. The poem? I still remember it. It's, The cold world of the southeast Mo Shaoran, the law enforcer of the human world. Righteous and fearless, this heart can face the heavens. The fat shopkeeper gestured and said, I feel that something is wrong. It seems to be the waist token of the southeast law enforcement master Han. Dang. Dang. Two teacups fell to the ground at the same time and broke into pieces. When Sun Qingcai and Zhou Yade heard the first line of the poem, their teacups fell to the ground at the same time. The tea splashed onto their robes, but the two of them didn't seem to notice it. Both of them had the same expression. They stared blankly at the fat shopkeeper with their eyes and mouths wide open. Their 4 eyeballs almost popped out at the same time and almost fell to the ground. At this moment, both of them almost forgot to breathe. After being stunned for a while, they roared at the same time, What? Both of their hearts turned cold. Master Sun snatched a woman from Han Shaoran. Law enforcement Master Han? This. What the hell is this? Even if you don't want to live anymore, you can't do this. What happened after that? Sun Qingcai only felt that his heart was beating like a drum. The sweat on his face flowed down like a waterfall. He didn't even notice that it had flowed into his eyes. He just stared blankly at the fat shopkeeper and said with a glimmer of hope, Both of you should have left after seeing this jade token, right? No. The fat shopkeeper answered bitterly. Did they apologize to him? Zhou Yade asked as if he was moaning. No. The fat shopkeeper wiped his sweat. What exactly happened? Tell me quickly. What was the reaction of my two sons after seeing this poem? Sun Qingcai almost jumped up and roared angrily. He almost lifted the roof. The Grand Duke said. The Grand Duke praised, good poem, very good poem. The fat shopkeeper said while trembling with fear. Bang bang 3 sounds. It turned out that the 3 people present had been shaken to the ground along with their chairs by this sentence of good poem. Their limbs were in the air, bastard. Sun Qingcai was stunned on the ground for a while. Then he groaned with a twisted face and wanted to cry, the identity jade token of the law enforcement master. He actually praised it for a good poem. It's over. Zhou Yade, who had just patted his chest and promised to deal with the future troubles for his brother-in-law, lay on the ground in exhaustion. He didn't even have the strength to get up. I've been ruined by your Sun clan. Sun Qingcai, you've really raised 2 good sons. Which one of the tens of billions of people in the entire heavens doesn't know about the identity jade token of the law enforcement master? Your son actually didn't know about it? It's fine if he didn't know about it, but he actually praised it for a good poem. It's fine if he praised it for a good poem, but he actually went to snatch other people's women. He suddenly jumped up with red eyes. What the fuck have I done in my previous generation? Why am I related to your family in this generation? What happened after that? Sun Qingcai asked feebly with a glimmer of hope. What happened after that? Then I came to report. The fat shopkeeper said while trembling with fear. The 3 people in the hall fell to the ground in exhaustion. What should we do? Brother-in-law. Sun Qingcai seemed to be unable to get up. How would I know what to do? Zhou Yade said angrily, This matter has nothing to do with me. From today onwards our two clans will break off all relations. I don't know you and you don't know me. Sun Qingkai said furiously, bullshit. You actually want to wash your hands of this matter? Wash your hands of this matter. Zhou Yade, if it wasn't for our Sun clan, would you be able to live so comfortably all these years? Just how many purple crystals have you taken? Just how many girls have you played with? Just how many bribes and perverts have you done? Let me tell you, don't think that you'll have an easy time in this matter. If our Sun clan is finished, I'll risk my life to drag your Zhou clan down with me. Okay. You bastard. Zhou Yade said feebly, you're just dragging me down? Motherfucker. What are you still standing there for? Hurry up and invite the old ancestor of your Sun clan to come out, prepare a generous gift, and find all the important figures to apologize to him. Why are you still shouting? Yes. Sun Qingkai was suddenly enlightened. He jumped up with a whoosh and shouted repeatedly, someone come. Nyo, quickly go and invite the old ancestors. You tell madam to prepare a generous gift. The more generous the better. It's not a problem to take out all our assets. Quick. After a series of urging, the few servants and warriors who had just rushed in were scared witless and rushed out again. After Sun Qingkai finished shouting, he sat down on the ground again and cried, God, what sin has our Sun clan committed? We actually caused such a huge disaster. I hope that the heavens will open their eyes and let our Sun clan get through this. Zhou Yade said angrily, what sin have you committed? Don't you know what sin have you committed? Your two sons are two lecherous ghosts. Whenever they fancy a girl, no matter if she has a husband or not, they want to play with her. How many times have you stopped them? It's also your connivance that caused such a huge disaster. You can't absolve yourself from the blame. Sun Qingkai sighed and murmured, what's the use of saying this now? He lowered his head dejectedly. The sound of hurried footsteps came from the hall. A fat woman rushed out. Sun Qingkai, are you crazy? You actually want to give away all your assets? Are you out of your mind? Sun Qingkai was furious. It was precisely because he had nowhere to vent his anger that he jumped up and slapped his wife's face. Bastard! I asked you to prepare and you just do it. Do you want to die? If it weren't for the two little beasts that you raised, why would I give away all my assets? Duanma and Kanjiang? The fat woman covered her face and was about to get angry when she heard this sentence. She cried out in horror, what happened to them? Hurry up and prepare. Sun Qingkai jumped up and roared, if you're late, not only will you two die but also our whole family will die. The fat woman panicked and repeatedly agreed and ran back. Figures flashed and three old men came in. Qingkai, what happened? Sun Qingkai was about to answer when he suddenly heard a commotion outside. It seemed that something big had happened in the distance. There was a hubbub of voices that shook the sky. The sound of footsteps was heard. A warrior rushed in with sweat all over his head. He didn't even report and hurriedly said, reporting to the family, something bad has happened. What happened? Sun Qingkai pulled out a strand of his beard. He stomped his feet and roared, speak. The two dukes and their attendants as well as the dukes of the Zhao, Li, Qian and Zheng families have been tied together with ropes. They are going up and down the street and walking towards here. They have already started fighting. The warrior hurriedly said. Started fighting? Sun Qingcai's round face suddenly flattened again. His eyeballs bulged out. He shouted in fear and panic, who is fighting with whom? There are also dukes of our family, Li family, Zhao family, Zheng family, Qian family. They all want to save their dukes. So they started fighting. There is only one person on the other side, but he is too powerful. Now there is a river of blood. Chapter 939. Blood has flowed like a river? Sun Qingkai muttered unconsciously. Suddenly, tears fell from his eyes. What else do you want to do to kill me? He suddenly became furious. Blood has flowed like a river. Is there any way to salvage the situation? The warrior's face was full of sweat. What should we do? Clan head, please make a decision. As long as you give the order, we'll save young master even if we have to die. What to do? What else can I do? Now, other than hanging himself, he couldn't even make a cold dish. Sun Qingkai rolled his eyes and cried, Mother? Then he fell down softly. Zhou Yade frowned and hurriedly asked the fat shopkeeper, didn't you send the letters to the other clans? Why did they start fighting all of a sudden? Were those families all idiots? The other party is the special envoy of law enforcement Master Han. Do those clans want to go against the entire law enforcement team? Where did they get the guts to do that? The fat shopkeeper said miserably, I came here the moment I heard that something bad was going to happen. How would I have the time to send letters to those clans? I think they don't know that they're facing the special envoy of law enforcement Master Han. They only want to save their son? It's over, Zhou Yade sighed deeply. He said hatefully, these frogs at the bottom of the well. They've been cooped up here every day. How would they know how big the outside world is? They only have a little hemorrhoid-like strength. There are too many people who can kill them easily. They're actually so arrogant. They're asking for it. He sighed again despondently. It's a pity that you bastards have implicated me too. The few elders of the Sun clan were confused. What exactly happened? Is it so serious? Zhou Yade was no longer in the mood to be angry. He explained the matter in a daze. Before he could finish, the few old ancestors were shocked. They stood there dumbfounded. They almost couldn't believe their ears. Our Sun clan actually has such a talent. You usually abduct women and everyone just turns a blind eye to it. Anyway, there's no one in the local area who can compete with our Sun clan. Of course, nothing will happen. So what if you abduct them? But at such a critical moment, you should at least behave yourself. This is the medicine banquet, how important is that? Once something happened, not to mention who you had provoked, once the Zhuge clan was enraged, the Sun clan would immediately be annihilated. He actually went out to fool around at such a time. It's fine if you go out and fool around, but don't get into trouble. Even if you wanted to stir up trouble, you shouldn't have stirred up too much trouble. But now you've stirred up a huge trouble that's beyond redemption. Not only did he use law enforcement Master Han's identity jade token to praise his poem, but he also wanted to snatch his woman. Just thinking about this made him feel as if thunder was rumbling above his head. How stupid would one have to be to do such a thing? This was not only big trouble but also a big joke. The three old men looked at each other, not knowing what to do. Let's go and take a look. One of them shouted, if we can salvage some of it, then so be it. Otherwise, the Sun family is really finished. The three of them finally regained their senses and rushed out anxiously. Sun Qingkai also regained his senses and rushed out together with Zhou Yade as if their butts were on fire. Oh my god, it's fine if a few of us die, but please don't let anything happen to Law Enforcement Master Han's special envoy. Who doesn't know that Law Enforcement Master Han is the most ruthless person in the heavenly layer? The two of them prayed in their hearts as they ran. The more they thought, the more they felt that it was impossible. As they ran, their faces were full of tears. What a sin! In the hall, the fat shopkeeper scratched his head. What the heck, it seems that there's nothing for me to do. Damn it, I've risked my life to inform them, but they didn't even reward me. He scratched his fat head and walked out. Fine, I'll go and take a look too. Anyway, there's nothing for me to do. Mayan's business might be very popular in the future. By then everyone would ask, who was the one who said in which in that Law Enforcement Master Han's identity jade token was a good poem? Such a powerful person really needs to be worshipped. That place is also a place of historical interest. Therefore word spread from mouth to mouth and everyone came to stay there. Although the reputation wasn't good, they would still be rich. At this moment there was already an earth-shattering fight outside. Chu Yang walked out of the inn while holding the hands of a few officials, and instantly caused a sensation. Who in North Wind Town didn't know about these few hedonistic young masters? Who didn't know about them? How many people hadn't been bullied by these few hedonistic young masters? How many people's families had been ruined because of them? Especially those who had daughters. As long as their daughters were a little beautiful, they couldn't wait to hide their daughters in their cellars. Once they were discovered, they would definitely not be able to escape from their misfortune. Countless daughters from good families had been ruined by these people. If they resisted slightly, their families would be ruined. The local youths all gnashed their teeth in hatred. 30 to 40% of the young men had been cuckolded after marrying their wives. What kind of humiliation was this? Even if they were ordinary people, how could they be indifferent to this? Although the Sun clan was powerful, and they would be beaten to death if they resisted slightly, they didn't dare to do so. On the surface, they didn't dare to do anything. But who in the mainland didn't hate these bastards to the bone? Now they actually saw that someone had tied them up like candied haws and paraded them through the streets. Immediately, the crowd was boiling with emotions and everyone was very happy. At the same time, they were also worried that this person wouldn't be able to withstand the revenge of the Sun clan. Everyone followed along to watch the show, and the crowd grew larger and larger. Everyone wanted to see these bad guys get their retribution. Even if they didn't personally take revenge, they would still feel good just by watching it. Heaven has eyes. Finally, these bad guys were all caught. Hopefully this time they could really get rid of all evil. We have already been bullied by these bastards for a long time. Chu Yang held the large group of people's hands and walked out in large strides. After walking for a short distance, he gave them a fierce tug, and then a series of somersaults followed behind. The faces of these hedonistic young masters were filled with despair and defeat, and their bodies were dripping with blood. They looked at Chu Yang with despair and deep hatred. As they walked, the muscles in their bodies spasmed painfully. Perhaps these people had never dreamed that they would one day be tied up and paraded through the streets like dogs. Chu Yang also stuck a wooden token on each of their bodies. On it, their names were written in bold and eye-catching bright red. It was erected high and very conspicuous. This wooden token was inserted into the flesh of their backs, and it was stuck between the bones. Blood and flesh were dripping. Every step they took they would feel a heart-wrenching pain. This pain was so clear, but it only made them feel incomparably clear-headed, and wouldn't make them faint. If they fell down once, that kind of pain was simply like dying once, dying with a clear mind. These people had always been spoiled and domineering. They didn't even practice martial arts, so how could they bear such pain? As they walked, blood dripped and screamed along the way. In the end, they almost didn't even have the strength to groan. Wherever Chu Yang walked, a path would automatically open up. Looking at the direction of this path, it was directly leading to the Sun Clan. On both sides of the path, everyone watched as Chu Yang pulled this group of people along like dogs. The entire path was dripping with blood. The situation was so cruel and bloody, but no one showed fear in their eyes. Everyone's eyes were filled with joy. It was a kind of joy that came from being able to hold one's head high after being bullied for a long time. Although no one spoke, that kind of excitement was like a sudden rainstorm after being extremely stuffy in a hot summer. Everyone's eyes were filled with fanaticism as they looked at Chu Yang. Countless people's eyes were filled with gratitude. No matter what you did it for, as long as you killed these bastards, you're our benefactor. Many people were calculating in their hearts. As long as these bastards died, they would immediately erect a long-life memorial tablet for their benefactor. The widest road in North Wind Town was actually packed with people in an instant. The sound of clothes fluttering in the air quickly sounded, and a few figures flew over. The person in the lead was dressed in black, with the words law enforcement embroidered on his chest. The first to arrive was indeed the law enforcement. That person had already shouted in the air, "Where are you from, friends? Let's talk nicely. I'm from the local law enforcement hall." Before he finished his words, Chu Yang raised his head. His eyes flashed like lightning, and his ferocious intent was revealed. Those few law enforcement hall's eyes met with such a gaze in mid-air, and they couldn't help but feel a chill in their hearts. They actually didn't finish their words. Chu Yang didn't say anything and just waved his hand. A ray of light flew over slowly. That person reached out to catch it and felt that it was warm and soft. He lowered his head and was instantly shocked. He hurriedly landed. "I didn't know that the envoy of the Southeast Law Enforcement Master had come. Please excuse me for not going out to meet you." How could a small law enforcement hall be compared with Han Sharon's status? Chu Yang had Han Sharon's identity jade token, and his status was equivalent to Han Sharon's. Although the South wasn't under Han Sharon's jurisdiction, the status of the law enforcement master was enough to crush them to death. Even though they weren't under Han Sharon's direct command, Han Sharon only needed to say one word to destroy this law enforcement hall. How would these people dare to neglect? Chu Yang said indifferently and coldly, "Wait at the side and be my witness." That person said, "Yes." Then he said, "Your Honor, how did these few people offend you?" "How did they offend me and you don't know?" Chu Yang looked at him coldly. "Say it again and I'll hear it." That person was sweating profusely. "I don't dare." Since they had rushed over immediately, they must have been nearby when the incident happened. How could they not know? Chu Yang sneered and said sarcastically, "I don't need you to uphold justice and you can't uphold justice. I don't need you to speak. You just need to bring your eyes and ears and not your mouths. If you dare to reveal my identity, you'll be punished with the same crime as the few behind me." He glared, "After I've settled this matter, I'll settle accounts with you. Do you understand?" "Yes." That law enforcement hall was sweating profusely. Under Chu Yang's ferocious aura, he only felt as if he was naked in the wasteland. His whole body was cold, and his lower body was so tight that it almost spurted out at the same time. Chapter 940. This small head of the law enforcement officers trembled all over as he led his subordinates to one side. He didn't dare to get too close, nor did he dare to stay too far away. He didn't even dare to say a single word. He originally wanted to send someone to inform Zhou Yade, but after sensing Chu Yang's awe-inspiring aura, he didn't even dare to think about it. So he retreated to one side. Looking at the few dukes who had been beaten, frightened and tortured to the point that they didn't even look human now, he became more and more shocked. This master was truly vicious. This special envoy is really valiant. He actually directly enforced the law in the south with the token of the Southeast Law Enforcement Master. Awesome. I really don't know how much trouble he will make today before he stops. But from the looks of it, it's almost impossible for them to settle this peacefully. It seems that this time North Wind Town is going to have a bloodbath. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. That was the sound of experts from the other 4 clans rushing over to rescue them. There was a commotion in the crowd. Like waves they parted to form a path. A few clans came out from the crowd. When they saw their own dukes being chained up and paraded through the streets behind Chu Yang, their pupils suddenly shrank. A tall and sturdy man walked out with large strides. He cupped his fists and saluted. He said loudly, "Friend, please wait. I am from the Qian family. Behind you, the one who is being tortured is my grandfather. May I ask, what did my grandfather do to offend you and cause you to do such evil deeds? No matter what, you've gone too far, right? You must know that in the martial world, nothing can be more reasonable than reason. How could I have led to such evil deeds? Everything can't be justified?" Chu Yang insipidly repeated these words. He then raised his head and said, "You mean to say that I've done something wrong today? I'm unreasonable?" This sentence was very plain, but an aura of an impending storm spread out spontaneously. Murderous intent was faintly discernible. The burly man couldn't help but take a step back. He said unyieldingly, "No matter who's right or wrong, my grandfather can't be humiliated by you. Let my grandfather go first. We'll discuss who's right and who's wrong later." The law enforcement officers who were following in the dark closed their eyes. They're done for. If the Qian clan had come up and apologized, they might have been spared. But now, it was impossible. Chu Yang nodded slowly. He looked around and asked in a deep voice, "The Qian clan's people are here. I wonder if the Li clan's people are here?" "The people from the Li clan are here." On the left, the crowd parted to form a path. Dozens of people stood in the middle. A burly man in purple stood upright and unafraid. He looked at Chu Yang fiercely. "Young man, quickly let go of my son." It turned out that the head of the Li family had come in person. Chu Yang's eyes were cold and clear as he looked at him. "You're not asking for the truth and you're asking for my son's release first?" The Li family's patriarch laughed sinisterly. "Little one, you're already at death's door. Why would I bother to discuss right and wrong with you?" The few law enforcement officers in the dark looked at the head of the Li clan with pity in their eyes. They reckoned that the entire Li clan would be finished after hearing this sentence. Chu Yang nodded slowly. "Good, very good. Where are the people of the Sun clan?" A big man came out from the crowd. "I'm from the Sun family. Little one, if you don't let my grandfather go, this place will be your death. Today is the anniversary of your death." The attitudes of the major clans were getting tougher and tougher. "Very good. The Sun clan is also here." Chu Yang's face became calmer and calmer. He said, "The Qian clan, Sun clan and Li clan are all here. Where are the people of the Zhao clan and the Zheng clan?" Another 2 groups of people appeared and shouted, "Let him go first, then we'll talk." "All 5 clans are here." Chu Yang laughed and said, "I understand what all of you mean. That is to say, no matter who's right or wrong, no matter who's right or wrong, I have to let him go first, right? Even if your grandfather has committed a heinous crime first, I still have to let him go first, right? Am I right?" The people of the 5 clans gathered together. There were a total of 300 to 400 people. They looked at each other and were all emboldened. The big man from the Qian clan laughed and said, "You're right. Even if our grandfather is wrong, he's still right. If you don't let him go, you can't escape death either. The 2 women behind you, one big and one small, don't even think about living happily." A loud shout came from outside. "Well said." An elder in green walked in slowly. The big man from the Qian clan hurriedly bowed and said, "Clan master, you actually came in person." The green-clothed elder slowly nodded. His hands were behind his back as he slowly walked forward. His hawk-like eyes stared closely at Chu Yang as he said indifferently, "Young man, I know that you have some background, but this is Northern Wind Town. Let me give you a piece of advice. Before your strength reaches a certain level, don't do anything impulsive. For today's matter, as long as you're willing to let them go, apologize sincerely, and ask your teacher to come out and talk nicely, I can make the decision to let this matter go. Otherwise, your blood will splatter in front of you. The elder in green looked at Chu Yang indifferently. Young man, what do you think? Chu Yang took a long breath and said, these people want to steal my wife, and they've already stolen the wives of many people. In your eyes, this kind of behavior is right? The big man next to him laughed and said, this is heaven. Do you know? Whether it was resources, women, or crystals, everything belonged to the strong. If someone steals your wife, you can only blame yourself for not having the ability. We don't think this is right, but as long as you have the ability, you can also steal other people's wives. As long as you're strong enough, no one will say anything about you. Do you understand? Chu Yang smiled strangely. Is that so? The big man said affirmatively, yes. Chu Yang looked up at the elder in green and the other clan masters and asked lightly, you guys didn't say anything. It seems that you guys agree with what he said? The elder in green frowned. You let them go first. I order you to let them go first. Order me? Chu Yang laughed and floated forward. With his hands behind his back, he said lightly, since that's the case, don't blame me for being ruthless and starting a massacre. His eyes slowly swept across the people from the 5 great clans and said, I ask those who are not involved to move away to avoid accidental injury. Needless to say, the crowd had already dispersed far away. Only Chu Yang and the 5 great clans were facing each other. The people from the 5 great clans looked coldly at Chu Yang's words and actions. Their eyes were full of mockery. This little guy was really audacious. Did he want to fight against the 5 great clans with his own strength? Your words have dispelled the last bit of concern in my heart. On the long street, Chu Yang's black clothes fluttered in the autumn wind. He smiled and said, I was originally quite apprehensive about exterminating the entire clan. I thought that it was immoral. But now I understand what it means to be jackals of the same lair. What it means to die for the 5 great clans present today. Chu Yang looked coldly at the people opposite him and said word by word, I hereby swear to the heavens that the 5 great clans will be removed from the upper 3 heavens from today onwards. I will eliminate the weeds by the roots and leave no one alive. He paused and said word by word, the 5 great clans, men, women, old and young, will all be killed. No one will escape punishment. At this moment, the crowd was silent. Chu Yang's voice spread out and was heard far and near. Suddenly, there was a commotion in the crowd. The old man in green was actually not angry. He looked at Chu Yang with interest. You actually want to exterminate the 5 great clans with your own strength? Ah. The people behind him laughed in unison. Chu Yang looked at them coldly. The murderous intent in his eyes became more and more intense. He suddenly recited, moving unhindered in the world, what is difficult with a sword in hand? Slaying the world is not finished, slaughtering people is not idle. Blood surges 1,000 feet under the sword, white bones under the feet like mountains. Slaughtering thousands of people, the first drop of blood is not cold. This was a poem that the sword spirit recited when he attacked in the northern wastelands of the upper 3 heavens. That time, no one was left alive under the sword spirit's attack. This time, Chu Yang recited this poem again at this moment. His determination was already the same as the sword spirit's at that time. Kill. Leave no one alive. Little guy, it seems that you don't know how to appreciate kindness? The old man in green, the clan master of the Chen clan, narrowed his eyes. Chu Yang smiled and retreated to the side of the young man from the Chen clan. He stretched out his hand and pulled hard. The young man from the Chen clan let out a shrill scream. His left hand, together with the skin and bones and long tendons, was pulled down. After a blood-curdling scream, he completely fainted. Chu Yang's leg flew up and kicked up a piece of soil on the ground. Then he stepped on the broken bone with the soil. He crushed it hard. He turned back and grinned at the clan master of the Chen clan. He revealed his white teeth but with a chilling intent. Clan Master Chen, are you satisfied with this? Are you happy? As he spoke, he lifted his foot and stomped on the Chen clan's dandy's crotch. With 2 popping sounds, it was as if 2 eggs had been crushed under his foot. Instantly, a bloody mess was formed, and blood gushed out from his lower body like a fountain. If you were unhappy just now, are you happy now? Chu Yang sneered and looked at the clan master of the Chen clan. The clan master of the Chen clan, who was originally calm, was completely distorted in an instant. He saw his own son being abused in front of his eyes, and even crushed Sun Jian on the spot. What kind of feeling was this? His vision turned black and he almost fainted. He roared angrily, and his heart seemed to be torn apart at this moment. Little Hao. He roared at the top of his lungs. Little guy, you hurt my son. I swear I will cut you into pieces. He raised his head and his eyes had already turned blood red. Your son also treated others like this and not just one. Chu Yang said indifferently, your son is a son and other people's children are not. Bullshit, how can those lowly people be compared to my son? How can 100,000 lowly slaves be compared to a strand of my son's hair? The clan master of the Qian clan roared angrily. Chu Yang smiled coldly. Can't be compared to your son? I will let your son be incomparable to those people right now. I'll make sure that even if he goes to hell, he'll be an incomplete ghost. He moved like the wind and with a swoosh he dug out the 2 eyeballs of this bastard. Chapter 941. My son. Qian clan's clan master howled in agony again. He flew up and said, kill. However, he saw a flash in front of his eyes as 2 black objects flew towards him. He didn't even think before he hit them away. Then he heard Chu Yang say with a smile, catch. Oh, your son's eyeballs. You actually smashed them yourself. He was almost mad with anger. With a command, everyone rushed over from all directions. It was at this moment that he suddenly heard the sound of a sword clang. He couldn't help but be shocked. This soft chime was like a sound that shook one's soul. It was full of killing intent and indifference. It was like the prelude to a massacre from the heavens. Following that, at the same time, everyone who charged forward with their swords felt their swords emit a clang sound. All the swords pointed straight to the sky at the same time. Worship of 10,000 swords. Qian clan's clan master was shocked. His pupils shrank rapidly. He shouted, wait, you're a sword emperor? Chu Yang smiled coldly. He walked forward with his hands behind his back. There were thousands of sword auras around him. What? Can't I? Qian clan's clan master retreated rapidly. He shouted in panic, Sir Emperor, there might be a misunderstanding. His forehead was already sweating. He was anxious and scared. He didn't expect that this young man whose cultivation couldn't be seen was actually a sword emperor. The strongest in his clan was only a 3rd or 4th stage martial monarch. How could a small clan resist a sword emperor? At this moment he had already lost all thoughts of revenge. Misunderstanding? Chu Yang smiled. I have a misunderstanding with your mother too. Damn it. You're actually saying that it's a misunderstanding at this moment? Chu Yang was so angry that he almost laughed. He stretched out his palm. With a sword chime, a long sword that shone with cold light appeared in his hand. He raised the sword. A cold light flashed and a head fell to the ground. Blood. Chu Yang's killing intent was blazing. He didn't hold back anymore. He shouted coldly. His black clothes fluttered like clouds. He had already rushed towards the crowd. The people from the 5 big clans rushed up crazily. Their swords and sabers fell together. Chu Yang raised his leg and kicked the headless corpse in front of him away. Then he rushed forward, facing the rolling crowd. At this moment, he swung the thin and brittle long sword in a circle and actually used it as a large saber. With a raise of his sword, a head was cut off. Then with a kick, the headless corpse was sent flying. With another swing of his sword, another head was cut off. With another kick, another headless corpse was sent flying. Suddenly, it was as if a watermelon stall had been knocked over. Countless heads rolled around on the ground. As the battle progressed, everyone frantically dodged and dodged. One after another, heads were kicked here and there. However, even if they were kicked away, a new head would immediately fall to the ground. Chu Yang's killing intent was overflowing, but his eyes were becoming calmer and calmer. He was surrounded by densely packed enemies, but he was extremely agile as he dodged and moved around. His sword chopped off one head after another as he dashed left and right. Wherever he went, there would be a wave of miserable cries. A wave of blood. He didn't use any ultimate move, he just chopped off his head so cleanly. Other than chopping off the head, he didn't touch anything else. I've said before that I'll make each and every one of you into an incomplete ghost. His black robe fluttered like a ghost. Sword after sword, sword after sword. Sword after sword. Goo 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 goo. Heads on the ground, one after another, one after another. Blood on the ground, puddles after puddles, puddles after puddles, what was called a river of blood. Perhaps, this was it. Although this black-clothed figure was surrounded, no one could get within 3 steps of him. Everyone who rushed forward had their heads chopped off and their corpses kicked away in the first moment. Such a horrifying scene, How could an ordinary person see it in their lifetime? The crowd far away on both sides constantly exclaimed. Many people were so scared that their faces turned pale and their bodies trembled. However, no one left and no one closed their eyes. Everyone's eyes were wide open. Although they were so scared that they were about to faint, their faces were filled with joy. Good kill. It was so satisfying to kill them. This bunch of scoundrels, someone should have dealt with them long ago. Many people knelt down in front of the blood and corpses, and prayed with tears streaming down their faces. Daughter, you can close your eyes in peace. Your benefactor has taken revenge for you. Your benefactor has avenged your humiliation. You're still my pure and innocent daughter. Daughter, you can be at ease. Those who had humiliated you and killed you are now facing an even more brutal massacre. They don't even have complete corpses. Even if you meet them in the underground, you'll be much more glorious than them. Wife, you can be at ease. Ever since you left, our family has been in a miserable state. Your daughter is only 7 or 8 years old. Before you died, you were still worried that your daughter wouldn't be humiliated by those beasts. Now you can be at ease. Those bastards are already dead. You'll be alone in the underground. You must remember, if you meet a bunch of headless ghosts, you must hide far away. They are those evil people. Chuyang had slashed enough with his sword. Suddenly he flew up and kicked the head of a big man. The head exploded with a bang. Before his body landed on the ground, another kick landed on the other Khan's head. Bang! Another explosion occurred. His feet kept flying in the air, and this head turned into a smashed watermelon. A bunch of bastards. Today, if this young master leaves you with a complete corpse, this young master will never roam the Jianghu again. Chu Yang's cold and cruel voice faintly resounded in the air. Anyone could tell with a single glance that this black-clothed youth was dealing with the hundreds of people in front of him with ease and ease. The pressure in front of him suddenly increased. A few figures flew out like ghosts and mixed in with the crowd and attacked crazily. Chu Yang's eyes lit up. Monarch-level experts. Now you're finally willing to come out? He brandished his long sword and sword energy overflowed. He faced them head-on. The 4 or 5 people on the opposite side grinned hideously. Even if you're the Sword Emperor, you're definitely not a match for the 5 of us. This is a clash of strength and not a clash of sword moves that you're good at. Chu Yang saw the complacency in their eyes. He sneered in his heart and said faintly, "This is not a clash of strength. You're courting death." As he spoke, the 5 long swords quickly collided with each other. To their surprise, the moment their swords came into contact with the cold gleaming sword, it was as if their swords had suddenly turned into tofu. With a soft sound, their swords were cut into 2 pieces. For a moment they were terrified and their souls were scared out of their bodies. An extreme sense of crisis struck their hearts. They screamed and wanted to retreat. But it was too late. Chu Yang laughed and suddenly jumped up. His long sword suddenly turned into a big saber, and as fast as lightning he slashed 5 times in a row. 5 heads fell from their necks in an instant. Blood spurted out of the necks of the 5 monarch-level experts at the same time, and shot up hundreds of feet into the sky. It was like a beautiful martial arts rainbow. At the same time it was shocking. Chu Yang didn't even look at it. He quickly retreated, and with a slash to the left and a slash to the right he chopped off 2 heads consecutively. With 2 kicks, 2 heads were kicked up into the air, and fiercely hit the heads of the other 2 who were rushing up. With 2 bangs, 4 heads exploded at the same time. On Chu Yang's side, he slashed with his sword in his right hand, and punched with his left hand. His feet swung back and forth like a whirlwind. There were already more than 10 people whose heads were either chopped off, smashed, or kicked by him. These hard human skulls were like tofu under his hands and feet. They were not hard at all. The clan master of the Chen clan kept retreating, and his face was already pale. Looking at a head not far from him, his face was pale. This was the head of the Li clan master. Just now, it was kicked many times from dozens of feet away before it rolled to his feet. His heart was now full of fear. Even in his dreams, he didn't expect that he had actually provoked such a huge trouble. Chapter 942. Chu Yang clearly noticed the actions of the Chen clan's clan master from the corner of his eye, but the corners of his mouth revealed a trace of a sneer. He simply didn't care, nor did he try to stop him. "You bastard, you will soon know how wrong you are. This young master is at most an executioner, but the one you found is definitely an ancient demon king. Go ahead and hit your head until it bleeds." Clan head Chen's body was as fast as the wind. He arrived in front of Zi Sheqing smoothly. To be honest, he had never expected things to go so smoothly. The heavens are really helping me. A sinister smile appeared on his face. He was already thinking about what he would do once he got his hands on these two women and threatened them. Just as he was about to make a move, he saw the two women, one big and one small, smiling warmly at him. The small one's eyes curved into lovely crescent moons, squinting. Even the small rabbit teeth at the side of her mouth showed a little. The big one looked at him and smiled gently, like a fox that had seen a chicken. Patriarch Chen was a little confused. I'm here to capture you. What are you laughing at? Could it be that these two women were idiots? But in the next moment he stopped thinking about this problem and shouted, You two lowly servants. He wanted to say, Get your ass over here. But just as the words were about to come out of his mouth, he suddenly felt dizzy. He didn't know how it turned into this sentence. Two lowly servants. What are you guys laughing at? Meh. The few law enforcement officers in the dark had already noticed this. Seeing that the situation was not good, they immediately jumped out to protect the two ladies. If something were to happen to the family of the apothecary envoy right under their noses, then they would no longer be able to survive. Look at how familiar this apothecary envoy was with killing people. But just as everyone was about to make a move, they heard such a sentence. Immediately, those who had already leaped up lost their breath and fell to the ground in a sorry state. Even though their bodies were in pain from the fall, their eyes were still wide open in disbelief. Seeing family head Chen rushing forward with a fierce look, he opened his mouth and cursed loudly. But then he suddenly became gentle and even wagged his tail. Using the most nauseating tone, he said, What are you guys laughing at? Ah. The few law enforcement officers felt as if they were being struck by lightning. For a moment all the hairs on his body stood on end, and his hair stood on end. Especially since the one who said this was an old man, it was even more inconceivable. Compared to the shock of the law enforcers, Patriarch Chen was so shocked that he almost collapsed. He was clearly thinking about that in his heart, but his mouth clearly said it out loud. He clearly heard these words coming out of his own mouth. He was immediately stunned. He covered his mouth and stopped in horror. What was going on? Chu Le looked at family head Chen with interest as if she was watching a monkey show. Zi Shiqing smiled faintly and looked at him. His gaze was as cold as ice and as cold as a knife. Zi Shiqing, as a woman, hated this shameless family even more than Chu Yang did. Only women could understand the suffering of other women, and only women could understand how abominable and unforgivable the atrocities committed by these people were. What's going on? Family head Chen looked at himself in horror. Once he said that, he suddenly felt that his voice was normal again. Was he possessed just now? He thought for a while and felt that the most important thing now was to catch these two women. As for whether they were possessed or not, he would think about it later. So he flew up again. However, he jumped up in a dashing manner. His body, which was originally charging forward, suddenly did a carp flip in midair. This time it was a big deal. His lower body was rushing forward, but his upper body didn't listen to his command and flipped backward like a carp. With a crisp sound, Patriarch Chen fell straight to the ground and grimaced in pain. His waist had been twisted. If this matter was spread out, it would definitely be a big joke. Twisting one's waist was something that wouldn't happen even to a martial grandmaster. However, family head Chen, a martial monarch, actually twisted his own waist. The few law enforcement officers nearby were already stunned. All of them stretched out their necks and opened their eyes wide, like startled chickens. They had really seen it today. Then, something even more shocking happened. Family head Chen suddenly jumped up from the ground and scolded loudly, I'm really a bastard. A law enforcement officer swallowed a mouthful of saliva and stared blankly. Fuck. Is this family head Chen crazy? All the law enforcement officers were stunned. Family head Chen was in tears and snot. His face was filled with extreme fear and disbelief. He raised his hand and slapped himself again and again. As he slapped himself, he scolded, I'm really a bastard. My ancestors have been cuckolded for generations. I'm not human at all, do you know that? I'm a beast. My father, my son and my ancestors are all beasts. Not only am I a beast, but I'm also a bastard. And I'm a bastard mixed with several bastards. Every year, when I go to the ancestral grave to offer sacrifices, others use wine, but my family uses urine. My 8 generations of male ancestors were all eunuchs, and my 10 generations of female ancestors were all prostitutes. Fuck, my family is too bastard. Puff, puff. Several law enforcement officers fell to the ground neatly, and all of them started to tremble. They had seen people who knew how to scold others, but they had never seen someone who scolded others so fiercely. They had never seen someone who scolded himself so fiercely, and he even scolded his ancestors. This family head Chen was really a talent. Family head Chen's cultivation was very high. How loud was his voice? It was so loud that even the deaf could hear it. Everyone could hear it. Everyone who heard it was stunned. He continued to curse and hit himself fiercely. As he hit and hit, he walked to his son's side and neatly twisted his son's neck off. He tore his son's head with force and twisted it off his son's head. Then he tossed his son's head up, and with a flying kick he kicked his son's head up into the air. With a swoosh, Chen Gong's head shot up like a rocket. Family head Chen leaped up, and with a whip kick in the air, his movements were very neat. Swoosh, his son's head flew away without a trace. Then, family head Chen landed on the ground and patted his chest, waving his hands and shouting, "Great! It's really great! It's so great to cut off this bastard's lineage. Ah!" Then he fell to the ground and cried, "Son? I'm possessed?" He actually woke up again. After waking up for a short while, he started to grab his own hair, gritting his teeth and scolding, "You bastard!" With a puff he pulled out his own hair. He stomped his feet and scolded endlessly. He dug out his own eyeballs and threw them into his mouth to chew. Then with his left hand he punched his own dantian heavily. At the same time his right hand grabbed his own crotch. He roared, "Cut off your lineage, bastard!" With a scream, family head Chen fell to the ground, convulsing and spasming. He was in extreme grief. I can't see. Ah, what's going on?" When he was doing these things he knew clearly what he was doing in each of them. But he couldn't control his own hands and feet and couldn't control his mouth. He killed his own son with his own hands. He blinded himself, castrated himself, and then destroyed his own cultivation. He was conscious throughout the whole process. This kind of fear was simply the culmination of the whole world. Moreover, he didn't understand what was going on from the beginning to the end. At the roadside, a middle-aged man was watching with his blood boiling. He couldn't help but shout, "Great! It's really great! Cutting off this bastard's lineage is simply incomparably great. Ah!" This sentence was the same as what family head Chen had said just now, but the meaning was very different. As he spoke, he suddenly picked up a saber from the ground, and rushed over without regard for his life. He chopped off family head Chen's head with his saber, and shouted crazily to the sky, "I've taken revenge! I've taken revenge! Boo! I've taken revenge! Wife, daughter! I've taken revenge! Do you see it? Do you see it?" He burst into tears like a child. After crying for a while, he suddenly lifted his saber, and used all his strength to chop Clan Master Chen and his son's bodies. He didn't stop until he had no more strength left. Then he knelt down in front of Chu Yang's back, and repeatedly kowtowed until his forehead was badly mutilated. "Benefactor, thank you. Thank you. It's a pity that I can't repay you in this life. I will repay you in my next life." He didn't care whether Chu Yang could see it or not, and continued to kowtow crazily. Then he stood up and stabbed himself in the heart and shouted, "Wife, take your daughter and walk slowly. I'm here to tell you the good news. I've taken revenge. I've taken revenge, ha." Finally he fell into a pool of blood silently. Everything was quiet as everyone watched the scene play out. Their eyes were filled with deep sympathy as well as intense hatred for these clans. This man's 2 daughters were beautiful, but they were ruined in the hands of family head Chen. Because they resisted violence, they were sold to a brothel after being raped. They were not allowed to redeem their freedom, and the brothel did not charge them. They were like free prostitutes. Unable to bear the abuse, they committed suicide. His wife was filled with grief and indignation. Regardless of the difference in status, she went to seek justice. The next day she was found hanging naked from a tree, and she was no longer breathing. This man had been doing business for generations, and his family was originally well off. But suddenly he lost all his fortune and his family was ruined. At this moment, seeing that family head Chen finally suffered retribution, he was so happy that his heart was about to explode. His heart was like dead ashes and he had nothing to live for. He lived only to take revenge, to see justice. Now that his wish was fulfilled, he stabbed himself in the heart, and there was a sincere smile of satisfaction on his face. Chapter 943. Chu Yang, who was fighting, let out a long howl. With his divine sense, how could he not see it? Although he did not understand what story this man had, he knew that it must be extremely painful. Otherwise he would not have committed suicide at this time. For a moment he did not know what to feel. With a loud howl, his long sword was like the wind, ruthlessly cutting melons and vegetables. Chu Yang's long sword slashed out like a madman. There were less than 50 people left. Heads rolled and fell. They were all killed by him in a breath's time. More than 10 people fled in panic. But under the surveillance of Chu Yang's divine sense, where could they escape to? He killed them one by one with a sword and kicked their heads back with a kick. The heads piled up into a pile. He flew to the front of that man. With one look he could not help but let out a long sigh. There was no pain on his face. There was only endless joy, relief and happiness. In fact, there was even longing. Chu Yang stood quietly for a long time. In the voices of the distant crowd, Chu Yang captured the life of this man. Generations of business, wealthy family, virtuous wife, beautiful daughter. Such a family that everyone envied had now reached such a stage. Such an honest man without any cultivation had only used a knife to kill in his life? But now he could brazenly grab a big knife and cut off people's heads. An ordinary man could also kill when he was angry. But such anger, such killing, how much hatred did he have to accumulate? How much grievance could not be vented, so that he could suddenly explode at such a juncture? To do such a thing, how much did he have to bear? He could not bear it. Can I let such a person bear it no longer? Chu Yang stood quietly in the midst of this bloody scene. But he felt that his heart was getting more and more angry and depressed. In just a short time today he had already killed 300 to 400 people like this. But how big was the upper three heavens? How many people like this were there? Could he kill all of them? These were just a few small clans and they were already like this. So what if they were big clans? How could a dandy be called a dandy if he did not have a clan or powerful strength? The bigger the clan of a dandy, the more powerful he was, and the bigger the area of disaster he could cause. A landlord in a village could occupy a few places, not to mention a big clan like this. If the area of this kind of clan was a town, then the area of the disaster caused by the silk pants would be a town. The bigger it was, the greater the area of disaster. This was a matter of the boat rising with the tide. Could he kill them all? Chu Yang looked at the middle-aged man lying on the ground. His mouth was tightly closed. He clenched his teeth and said, "Even if I can't kill them all, I still have to kill them. If I see one, I'll kill one. Even if the sin of murder haunted him and he turned into a demon, he still had to kill. I won't show any mercy." He suddenly turned his head and shouted, "Everyone, these bastards are here now. If anyone has been bullied by them, you can take revenge with your own hands. No matter what, it was fine. Don't worry, no one will dare to take revenge on you." The crowd was in an uproar. Everyone's face was filled with longing. "Really?" one of them asked with a trembling voice. He seemed to want to rush out, but he also seemed to be afraid. "It's true." Chu Yang nodded vigorously. Then he stretched out his hand and pointed, "These people who have died here can testify. I'm not just making empty promises." The man wept tears of joy and suddenly cried out, "Revenge! Kill these bastards!" He rushed out crazily. This shout was like a bugle call for an all-out attack. The crowd that was originally hesitant rushed forward like a tide. Everyone's face was filled with joy. The few fops who were tied up screamed in horror and begged for mercy. However, their pleas were immediately drowned out. Chu Yang realized that among the crowd that rushed forward, the craziest ones were actually women. Countless women with bone-deep hatred pounced forward like female wolves. They even squeezed the men to one side. They bit with their teeth, tore with their hands, and used their sharp nails to cut their flesh. Then they bit them fiercely and tore them fiercely. The few dukes and their attendants were almost drowned in an instant. In the distance there were still people shouting crazily, "Revenge! Heaven has opened its eyes. Those bastards from the Qian, Sun, Li and Zhao clans have finally received their retribution. Someone come quickly. Wang Erniu! Wang Erniu! Go quickly, go quickly. Everyone run quickly. We won't make it if we're late." Rumble. The crowd rushed in crazily from both sides of the street like a tide. Some of them knew that they wouldn't be able to snatch the goods, so they ran away. They went home to get money and then went to the shops to buy firecrackers. Then they picked them up and set them off along the way. Smoke filled the air. More and more people went to buy firecrackers. Some even rode horses to buy firecrackers as fast as they could. A boss selling firecrackers simply placed all the firecrackers at the door. "I'm so happy today. I don't want money. Just set them off." In an instant the crowd in the square surged. Firecrackers sounded from all directions. Everyone was crying and laughing. Their faces were full of tears. Their faces were full of joy. The few fops in the center were besieged like this. They didn't even have time to scream before they were bitten to death. Mouthful after mouthful of flesh was bitten off. It was a horrible sight. It wasn't that good and evil didn't go unpunished. It was just that the time hadn't come yet. When the time came, it would be like this. The more evil you did, the more miserable you were now. Sun Qingkai and the others hurried over. The scene was already like this. Stop! Zhou Yade roared. But the crowd ignored him and continued to busy themselves. Where's the special envoy? Zhou Yade finally saw a law enforcement officer in black standing at one side. He flew over and asked. At the same time, another voice asked, Are you from the Sun clan? Sun Qingkai looked up and saw a young man in black with a blood-stained sword. He flew up and looked at Sun Qingkai coldly. Sun Qingkai's heart skipped a beat. He hurriedly smiled apologetically and said, Yes, yes. May I know who you are? The young man in black flew up and said coldly, Who am I? Ask your son. He flew over like lightning. Sun Qingkai came here to save his son. But the situation in front of him was so chaotic that he couldn't find his son. Just as he was muttering in his heart, he saw that the other party had already come over. Shocked, he hurriedly retreated and shouted, Special Envoy, this is a misunderstanding. This is a misunderstanding, the three elders behind him said at the same time. Special Envoy, please show mercy. Chu Yang's face was cold. How would he show mercy? With a clang, he cut Sun Qingkai's sword into two and slashed at his face. Sun Qingkai panicked and shouted, Special Envoy, for the sake of the Diwu clan and the Zhuge clan. Chu Yang sneered, Not even for the sake of the Heavenly Emperor. The long sword fell down fiercely. The three elders stepped forward at the same time. They each drew out their long swords and fought with Chu Yang. Chu Yang laughed loudly, Kill? Suddenly, his long sword changed and turned into a sword radiance. With a cold, murderous aura and an ancient desolation, he shouted, The world of mortals is the path of ruthlessness. Clang, clang, clang. The three elders of the Sun clan who were 8th-stage martial monarchs retreated continuously. Everyone's body was trembling violently. They looked at each other in disbelief. The long swords in their hands were already full of holes. The light in front of them was dazzling. Chu Yang turned into a shooting star with his sword and rushed over madly. Don't restrain your sword after killing the whole world. Screams sounded. The three elders tried their best to stop Chu Yang, but they couldn't. The next moment, three heads flew up into the sky. Chu Yang had already turned around and rushed towards Sun Qingkai. Sun Qingkai stumbled and his face was full of despair. He originally wanted to plead for mercy today. But he didn't expect that Chu Yang wouldn't even allow him to speak. Chu Yang directly raised his sword and killed. Instantly, his soul left his body. His heart was full of grievances. You can let me say a few words. If you don't even give face to the Zhuge clan, who are you going to give face to? Suddenly, his heart brightened. He rushed towards Zhou Yade desperately, Brother-in-law, brother-in-law. Save me, save me. Seeing him rushing over, Zhou Yade was really like seeing a snake. Mother, you're still looking for me at such a time? He hurriedly stepped back and shouted, Stop him! Stop him for me! Sun Qingkai shouted crazily, Zhou Yade, you bastard! You've been eating and drinking my food for so many years. Now you don't care anymore. When did we not give you half of the property that we snatched? Which one of the beautiful women that we snatched didn't let you play with them first? You. Now you actually want to wash your hands of this matter? Zhou Yade was furious. He was frightened, panicked and furious. Nonsense. Nonsense. You're talking nonsense. I'm a law enforcement officer. When have I ever done such things? Don't make false accusations. Sun Qingkai laughed miserably. You bastard, you still dare to say? Say it yourself. Where did your 37 concubines come from? They were all snatched by the Sun clan for you. You motherfucker, your concubines are constantly changing. The previous batch was sold to the brothel after playing with them enough. Our Sun family has done so many outrageous things for you, and now you're actually abandoning me. Do you still have a conscience? Your conscience has been eaten by dogs. Zhou Yade pulled out his long sword and rushed up crazily. Shut up. Damn it, shut up. Sun Qingkai didn't dodge the sword. He laughed wildly. Anyway, I'm going to die. I'll drag you down with me. Damn it. The long sword flashed coldly and Sun Qingkai's head fell off. But it wasn't Zhou Yade who did it. It was Chu Yang. Chu Yang stood in front of Zhou Yade with a murderous look. You're the law enforcement hall master? Zhou Yade was scared out of his wits. Sir, I really didn't do those things. Chu Yang looked at him coldly. I don't care whether you did it or not. I'm only telling you to immediately lead your subordinates and kill all of these 5 clans. If a dog is still alive, I'll take your dog life. Zhou Yade was relieved. Yes, I'll do it right away. Thank you for sparing my life. Chu Yang's eyes secretly flashed a ruthless cold light. He waved his hand. Do it quickly. You don't have much time. If you don't do it at the fastest speed, it's hard to say whether your head is on the ground or on your neck. Zhou Yade nodded like a chicken pecking rice. Yes. He turned around and shouted anxiously, gather. Go and kill. Chapter 944. The sound of firecrackers filled the air. Immediately, the sound of firecrackers rang out from other places in North Wind Town. Countless people were crying and countless people were laughing. Countless people knelt down and kowtowed to Chu Yang. Countless people ran to inform those who hadn't received the news yet. Slowly the whole town boiled over. In the distance, the Li clan was set ablaze and black smoke rose. Immediately, the Qian clan was also set ablaze. After a while, the Zhao clan and the Zheng clan were also set ablaze. In the end, black smoke also rose from the direction of the Sun family. The whole North Wind Town was like the end of the world. But the emotions of the people were intense and excited. They shouted at the top of their lungs. They didn't even know what they were shouting for. Chu Yang walked out with Zi Sheqing. Wherever he went, the people followed. They didn't speak and just looked at Chu Yang with fanatical eyes. This kind of gaze made Chu Yang feel sad. What kind of bullying and oppression did they go through to make these very ordinary people erupt like this at such a moment? Only then would these women be able to use their teeth to tear these young thugs into pieces. Wherever Chu Yang went, the people silently made way for him. Finally, Chu Yang stopped and turned around. He said loudly, "Everyone, don't follow me anymore. I killed these people because firstly, they deserved it. Secondly, they provoked me first. You don't have to be grateful to me. Go home." The crowd was silent. No one spoke. Chu Yang said it twice more. An old man with white eyebrows and beard shakily walked out of the crowd. He walked to Chu Yang and bowed deeply. Then he straightened his back and said sincerely, "Sir, no matter why you killed them, you're our benefactor. We have been waiting for them to provoke someone they can't afford to provoke so that you can punish them. We are just ordinary people. We only have this kind of hope. And we can't do it ourselves. Now, sir, you have killed them no matter what the reason is. You have always killed them. This is our common wish. And sir, you have eradicated all evil and directly destroyed the 5 big clans." As the old man spoke, tears flowed out of his eyes. He wiped them with trembling hands. "Thank you. My 2 flower-like granddaughters can finally rest in peace." As he spoke, he could no longer hold back his emotions and burst into tears. The entire street was filled with cries. Chu Yang heaved a long sigh. He felt as if something was surging in his chest. He raised his head and did not speak for a long time. In the beginning, when Zi Sheqing suggested this method, he felt that it would kill too many people, and the punishment would be too heavy. Furthermore, with his cultivation level, killing some small fries was beneath him. However, he had forgotten how much harm the small shrimps in his eyes could cause to ordinary people. He could ignore it, but if ordinary people were bullied, they would have nowhere to redress their grievances. At this moment he agreed with Zi Sheqing's words. Kill those who should be killed. Evil must be eradicated. Evil must be eradicated. After a long while, the sound of galloping horses' hooves was heard. Zhou Yade came back, covered in blood. He was gone for a total of 5 hours, mobilizing all the local law enforcers, uprooting the 5 great clans. But when he walked back, his heart was still uneasy. He knew that he would definitely be punished, but he could not escape. The other party had the command token of the law enforcement master. As long as the command was given, all the law enforcers in the world would hunt him down. He had to come back. And he also felt that he had atoned for his crime by killing so many people for him. At this moment, Zhou Yade indeed swore in his heart, "I will never be an evil person again. I will never do evil again. If I can escape with my life this time, I will definitely turn over a new leaf and become a new person." Special Envoy. I, Zhou Yade, have completed my mission and have specially come back to report. Zhou Yade stood straight in front of Chu Yang. The surrounding crowd looked at him, their eyes full of disdain and hatred. Zhou Yade felt as if there were thorns on his back, and the muscles all over his body were slowly twitching. Chu Yang looked at him lightly and said, I heard that you are the brother-in-law of the Sun clan? The uncle of those two fellows? I heard that you are involved in many of the things that they have done? Zhou Ye knelt down. I deserve to die. But I dare not do so in the future. He pulled out his knife and chopped off 3 of his fingers. He raised his hand and swore, I, Zhou Ye, swear to the heavens in the name of the Calamity Sword that I will turn over a new leaf and become a new person. If I go against it, I will be struck to death by lightning. An oath made by the Calamity Sword was the most important oath in the heavens. Chu Yang raised his head and looked at the white clouds floating in the sky. He said sadly, if you do bad things and kill people, you only need to swear and chop off a few fingers, and become a new person. Haha, those people that you have killed will never have the chance to become a new person again? Zhou Ye was sweating profusely. He heard Chu Yang ask, how many good girls have you persecuted all these years? How many innocent people have you killed? Zhou Ye's eyes were covered with sweat. He didn't dare to speak. After a long time he said, 500 women, and 1,700 to 1,800 people. Chu Yang looked at him lightly. You said that you are repentant. I can see from your eyes that you are indeed repentant. In your heart you really want to be a good person. But, if you want to live, do you think that the 500 women that you have destroyed and the 1,700 to 1,800 people that you have innocently killed will agree? Zhou Ye knelt on the ground and didn't dare to speak. Chu Yang's voice gradually became louder. You have been an evil person for a generation. Now you think that you will be fine just by saying that you are repentant? Then everyone in the heavens can go and do evil. After you have done it, as long as you can sincerely say that you are wrong, then won't you no longer need law enforcement officers? Zhou Ye kowtowed and cried bitterly. If you are wrong, you have to pay the price. Chu Yang looked at him coldly. Do you want to end it yourself or do you want me to do it? Zhou Ye was disheartened. He stood up and said in a low voice, I will end it myself. He looked up to the sky and laughed. After doing something wrong, you want to end it just by saying that you are repentant. How can there be such an easy thing? He suddenly turned around and pointed at them one by one. You. He pointed at 30 to 40 people and laughed. Since the special envoy wants me to do it, and all of you have been following me and have done so many bad things, now you can leave with me. He suddenly pulled out his sword and rushed forward. Chu Yang's gaze shifted to another person. He was looking at the warrior from the Zhuge clan who had led him here previously, Tao Ren. Tao Ren nodded slowly and discreetly. He told Chu Yang that Zhou Ye didn't kill the wrong people and didn't use this opportunity to drag others down with him. Chu Yang smiled. Zhou Ye had already killed all these people. He was covered in blood and said, if saying that you are sorry can end it, then why do we still need law enforcement officers? He laughed and suddenly raised his sword. With a fierce slash he chopped off his own head. Chu Yang's eyes were calm and unmoved. You have done too many evil things in the past and harmed so many people. Even if I know that you are truly repentant and will become a saint in the future, I will still kill you. I will still kill you. Because there are thousands of wronged souls who can't rest in peace. Looking at the flames that rose into the sky, Chu Yang instructed, Who is the deputy of the law enforcement hall? A burly man stepped forward and said with a strange expression, He was killed by Hall Master Zhou just now. Chu Yang made an O sound and said, Then you will be in charge of distributing the wealth of these clans to the common people. The things that have been robbed will be returned to their original owners. That burly man replied loudly, Yes, Special Envoy. Chu Yang said lightly, You know what to do, right? After the medicine banquet ends, I still have to leave from here. The burly man stood at attention. I know. I definitely won't go against the Special Envoy's orders. He paused for a while and said, But you have to be careful too. This Sun clan is related to the Diwu clan by marriage. If Diwu Qingyun knows about this, he might find trouble with you. Chu Yang smiled lightly and said, Diwu Qingyun? What is his position in the Zhuge clan now? He's a warden in the Zhuge clan. He has quite a lot of power. The burly man said, Diwu Qingyun is in charge of most of the external affairs of the Zhuge clan. Oh? Then what about Diwu Qingru? Chu Yang raised his eyebrows. Lord Qingru. Lord Diwu Qingru is the most important person in the Diwu clan. Even in the Zhuge clan he's also the core think tank. The burly man actually revealed a solemn expression. If Lord Diwu Qingru interferes, you will really be in big trouble. Chu Yang laughed and said, It's okay. He thought, if Diwu Qingru interferes, will I really be in big trouble? Thinking of this, he really couldn't make up his mind. If I meet Diwu Qingru in the upper three heavens, will we be enemies or friends? The next morning, when Chu Yang left North Wind Town, he realized that the streets were already crowded with people. They watched as Chu Yang left. A few painters were quickly drawing Chu Yang's appearance, and then they distributed it to everyone. Everyone took over the paintings with great care, as if they were receiving priceless treasures. After they went back, they pasted incense on the wall and burned 3 incense sticks in the morning and evening to erect a longevity tablet for their benefactor. They prayed day and night for their benefactor to live a long life. Chu Yang walked for a long distance. When he looked back, there were still quite a number of people kneeling. The sound of sobbing could be heard everywhere. Sometimes I feel very strange. I don't feel that I've done anything, Chu Yang said somewhat sadly. Zi Sheqing said lightly, it's precisely because you don't feel that you've done anything that these people will remember you. Then they will be grateful to you. If you had the thought of repaying their kindness at the beginning, you definitely wouldn't have received such treatment now. Zi Sheqing said somewhat sadly, actually, in this world most people just want to lead a peaceful life. Chu Yang let out a long breath. The three of them walked all the way. When they were 100 miles away, the escorts of the Zhuge clan along the way had already changed twice. At this moment there was a lot of dust behind them. A group of people caught up from behind. The person in front shouted, "Are the people in front the bane of fops, the killer of perverts?" Chapter 945. Chu Yang was speechless. Since when did he have such a nickname? Foppish tyrant's nemesis sounds better, but what's with the ghost killer? Am I a ghost or a ghost killer? Chu Yang stopped and took a look. He saw a group of people in snow-white robes and a chilly aura. Hundreds of people walked over silently. Their robes were as white as snow and their swords were like silver. Chu Yang's pupils shrank. These people did not need to speak. Just by looking at them, Chu Yang could feel the chilly aura coming from them. And every one of them was an expert. The weakest among them was a monarch-level expert. There were many martial saints. And the few people walking in the middle of the group looked very young. But with every step they took, it was as if the whole world was moving along with them. This was the realm of Greater Virtual Realm. Supreme Martial Artist. And the two people at the front were a man and a woman. The man was handsome and the woman was beautiful. The man's face seemed to be filled with inexplicable sorrow. And the woman's face also seemed to never smile. Just by looking at her, one could tell that she was unapproachable. And this woman, Chu Yang actually knew her. Ling clan. Ling Han Shui. It seemed that these people were from the Ling clan, one of the dominant clans in the heavens. Zi Sheqing was also looking at these few people. She looked at the man who was walking in front and said in admiration, "This man should be less than 50 years old. I didn't expect him to have the cultivation of a 7th-grade martial saint. Although there are traces of him forcefully using medicine to raise his cultivation, it's still very rare for him to have such cultivation at such a young age. He can be said to be an unparalleled genius." Chu Yang was stunned. So high. I'm definitely not wrong. Zi Sheqing said lightly, "This woman is also only 28 years old. But she's already a first-stage martial saint. Her aptitude is not inferior to that man's at all. But it's a pity that she's actually trained and heartless. This kind of martial art is faster than any other martial art. But once you fall in love, you'll be doomed eternally. How did such a beautiful woman at such a young age learn such martial arts?" Chu Yang's heart shook. He remembered Ling Hanshue's indifferent attitude back at the Lake of Despair. She did not care about anything at all. There was also a moment of extreme pain in her eyes. If one's heart isn't as dead as ashes, who would seal their heart? Chu Yang sighed and said. Zi Sheqing murmured, "You are right. If one's heart is not dead and there is no more hope, who would seal their heart and be heartless?" As she said that, she could not help but ask herself, "Am I considered heartless?" While they were talking, those people had already arrived. The man in the lead, who was as handsome as jade, smiled and said, "You must be Duke Chu, the one who has killed and enforced justice on behalf of the heavens." Ling Han Shui, who was standing at the side, looked at Chu Yang's face with an icy gaze. She said with some surprise, "It's you." She had seen Chu Yang at the Three Heavens Lake of Despair before. He didn't expect to see him here again. "My surname is indeed Chu." Chu Yang smiled and replied, "Miss Ling, we meet again." Ling Han Shui said lightly, "I remember that your name is Chu Yang. Aren't you in Three Heavens? Why are we in the upper Three Heavens? After the battle on that day, the heavenly layer was sealed. How did you come up?" What? Although she sounded like she was asking, the feeling that she gave off was still as cold as ice. Although Chu Yang knew her temper, he was still a little unhappy. He said, Miss Ling must have remembered wrongly. After the battle, the upper three heavens was sealed for more than half a month. Ling Han Shui replied with an "oh," and said, then you must have entered within this half a month. I took it for granted. Her words were still cold, but she was apologizing. The man in white beside her smiled bitterly and said, Duke Chu, please don't be offended. This niece of mine is just like this. Sai, even when she is talking to her father and me, she is still so cold. We can't do anything about it. Ling Han Shui was a little angry. Second uncle. Chu Yang finally understood. This Miss Ling was still cold even when she was angry. And the person she was talking to now was her second uncle. It seemed that it was really caused by the heavens. Suddenly, he remembered something that 7th Master Xiao had said when he was fighting with Yi Wu Bing. At that time, 7th Master Xiao said, am I wrong? Your sister Yi Chuchen was originally in love with Meng Yin, a vassal clan of your Yi clan. But in order to form an alliance with the Ling clan, you forcefully separated the two of them. You wanted your sister to marry Ling Hanwu, the second duke of the Ling clan. Second duke. Second uncle. Wasn't the second duke of that time the current generation? Chu Yang remembered clearly that 7th Master Xiao even said, Yi Chuchen would rather die than submit. Meng Yin was deeply in love with her. Ling Hanwu was still a man and took the initiative to withdraw. Could this man be Ling Hanwu? Chu Yang asked tentatively, Elder, you don't have to be so polite. I am indeed Chu Yang. May I know how to address you? The white-robed old man smiled faintly. Although he was smiling, there was a hint of worry between his brows that couldn't be erased. He said calmly, I am Ling Hanwu Shui's second uncle. Chu Yang finally confirmed his conjecture. It's really this person. He couldn't help but be shocked. This person was Teacher's love rival. It was because of this person that Teacher's whole family was killed and he was left stranded in the lower three heavens. However, this Ling Hanwu was also innocent in this matter. I like it. Chu Yang smiled bitterly. He rubbed his nose and looked at Zi Xiecheng. He thought, so this guy actually admires such methods so much. In your generation there's another person like this. As long as he sees someone who bullies others, he will definitely kill them quickly. That person is also the person I admire the most in the younger generation. He's the flower protector Meng Hanwu. Chu Yang made an O sound and thought, I can totally guess this. Ling Hanwu held up the wine bowl and said in a reminiscing tone, when I was young I was also like all of you. Alone and with a sword, I roamed the martial world and killed young ruffians. For 10 years I killed a total of 1,300 of them. 1,300 of them who bullied others and bullied others. Not including their subordinates. Chu Yang calculated in his heart and said, then you've killed at least 10,000 people. 10,000 ruffians. Ling Hanwu shook his head. No, there were many clans that were wiped out by me. In those 10 years I killed at least 30,000 people. At that time, as long as I heard about it, I would take the initiative to kill them. If they didn't comply, I would kill their entire families. He smiled bitterly. In those 10 years I was called the cold-blooded butcher. Sometimes I would travel 1,000 miles in a day and kill 3 clans in a row. It was only when the clans sent people to capture me that I stopped killing. Chu Yang laughed and probed, Elder, did you suffer any injuries at that time? Ling Hanwu's eyes widened as if he was about to fly into a rage. Then he smiled bitterly. Everyone knows that I, Ling Hanwu, suffered no injuries. Why do you have to probe? That's right, I did it for Sister Yi Chuchen of the Yi clan. Chu Yang's heart thumped heavily. After saying that, Ling Hanwu fell into a daze. His face was filled with reminiscence, frustration and bitterness. He shook his head and said, what's the use of being deeply in love? What's the use of being laughed at by the world? A woman's heart is not with you. No matter how powerful you are, you can't snatch it away. So, those who force women should be killed the most. Killing even their ancestors is the best. Letting them see the regret of not having any descendants is the real punishment. That's what's satisfying. Thank you to AXHG Alliance Master, for the 4th time. YHY, you've done a lot for me this month. Thank you very much. Thank you to Long Inue Alliance Master, for the tip in the wee hours. Thank you. Thank you to Lu Jinyo Alliance Master, for the tip in the wee hours. When I opened the book review section and saw it, I felt really warm in my heart. Especially that sentence, I'll treat you to a drink. It warmed my heart for a long time. Thank you to Weasel22, for the tip in the wee hours again. Thank you to Wei Qingqiu Ben Feng Lan, Become God or Crazy Demon, McDull for the tip. You're tuning in to the Han Lee's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.